Suddenly, there was no sign. Suddenly, there was no sign. Long Fei felt his own heart tighten, as though his chest had become heavier and he was suffocating. It was as if he was going to die. His face was pale. There was no reaction at all, and he could not resist at all. They could only allow that black stone to freely enter his heart. Would he possess a body? Long Fei didn't know. Will he die? He didn't know. At this moment, Long Fei was truly resigned to fate. Even if Feng Jing could suppress the black stone had already entered his heart. If he used Feng Jing to suppress it, his heart might even explode. Long Fei did not do so. Even if his body was possessed, he still had a chance to snatch it back. If his heart exploded, then he would really die. There was no saving him. A second was like a year. Long Fei could clearly feel the black stone slowly squeezing into his heart. The system beeped the moment he squeezed into his heart. Ding! System prompt. Heart complete. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Heart of Inscription. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Power of Inscription. Item: Inscribe Heart Grade. Material: Titanium Attributes. Suffer extreme pressure to create a supreme blood vein. Description: The Heart of Inscription is a product of technology. Item: Power of Inscription Grade. Attribute: Strength Descent Description. Releasing the inscription, the user will be surrounded by a powerful destructive force. When the system beep finished, Long Fei's entire being also relaxed for a moment. Phew. He took a few deep breaths. Long Fei's expression recovered and his brows tightened. System beep? If there was no system beep, Long Fei would be very worried because Blackstone might very well possess another body. However, if the system recognizes that the Black Stone is unable to possess another body, that would mean that the Black Stone is unable to possess another body. Moreover, the system prompt shocked Long Fei beyond belief. The heart is assembled. Holy sh*t. It feels like my body is a filling space. Technological products? This future black technology? Or was it a technology from High Plane? Just like the system in my mind? F***ck. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. There was the world of martial artists, the legendary world of immortals and demons, and countless other cultivation worlds. These worlds all existed and had a history spanning several trillion years. This was an extension of the martial way. Similarly, tens of trillions of years of extension could also lead to the appearance of the technological world. It was just like Earth. From the Stone Age to the current technology era, this was a good proof. Thus, there must be a world of science and technology in the universe outside the ancient world. And the fact that this world of science and technology could be established in the universe showed just how powerful he was. Technology versus the ancient powerhouse. What kind of scene was this? The system in his mind was most likely from the high-tech world. The Black Stone had assembled into his heart, in place of his heart. Furthermore, the system had described him as a technological product, so Long Fei's body now had two technological products. One was the system, and the other was his Black Stone heart. Could not understand what kind of product it was. The system could not give any explanation. However, what is the heart for? Hematopoietic. The system especially described how the heart of a Black Stone could create a supreme blood vein for him. He can create a supreme blood vein. What level is this blood vein at? Long Fei sensed his heart, but there were no special changes. He only felt that his heart had become a little heavier. As for creating a supreme blood vein, he did not feel it. The heart is working, and it is producing blood. However, it was not a very fast process, and Long Fei had a large amount of blood in his body right now, so it was impossible for him to replace it soon. To Long Fei, compared to the heart of the inscription, he preferred the power of inscription more. This power was the power that he had used to kill the Stone Wolf King with a single punch. Once released, his fist was covered in runes. It was just like the seal runes from the previous Emperor Xian. Once he used the ancient power, it would appear, but that was in the form of suppressing his power, while the power of inscription strengthened his power. Long Fei was extremely excited. Haha, this trip was not in vain. I've struck it rich. Be it the heart of the black stone or the power of inscription, both could be of great help to Long Fei at the moment. He needed to become stronger quickly. Undead Lord could appear at any time, and it was unclear whether Lu Luoshi was still alive or not. So he had to become strong as soon as possible. With the Blackstone's heart, Long Fei had an additional reason to rely on the power of inscription. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A rumbling sound could be heard from within the mountain. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The mountain is about to cave in. I have to go back quickly. He quickly ran out of the cave. The cave collapsed after he ran out. Outside the cave, Mu Yun also left. At this moment, the sky was already bright. Mu Yun followed Long Fei's orders and swiftly rushed back to the eastern region. He had to help Long Fei clean up the practicing courtyard, and he must finish cleaning the practicing courtyard before the disciples come to cultivate. He now treated Long Fei as his boss. He saw hope in Long Fei, so Long Fei's matter was his. It was just that they were going too deep into the mountain forest, so it was already morning when Mu Yun returned to the east side. He did not have time to change his clothes and directly ran towards practicing courtyard. At this time, practicing courtyard already had many disciples training in the morning. Hey, what are you doing? You woke up even later than us. What kind of place do you think the Mu clan is? Raising a service trash like you? You only came to clean up now. Do you want to die? When Mu Yun walked into the practicing courtyard, he was immediately surrounded by a few green-badged disciples, all of them staring at him viciously. Mu Yun apologized repeatedly. Senior brother is sorry. I am sorry. I will clean up immediately. Sorry. So what if I'm sorry? You're delaying our practice. Do you think you can waste our time? Do you know how much time you've wasted? These green-badged disciples did not intend to let Mu Yun go. Mu Yun kept apologizing, but it was useless. The status of service disciples was low to begin with, so they had to lower their heads before these green token disciples. Kid, you wasted my training time today, so you have to compensate. A man's lips curled up into a sinister smile. Mu Yun said, Senior brother, I have no money. A single monthly service disciple was not enough, and he did not have any extra money. The man was not surprised. No money? If that's the case, then serve as my training equipment. Mu Yun's pupils contracted. What was a training equipment? A human sandbag, to be able to spew out a few mouthfuls of blood from a beating, to be able to recuperate from internal injuries for 10 days to half a month, and to be beaten badly from that. It was death. At this moment, Mu Yao walked past Mu Yun into the training room. Mu Yun wanted to ask her for help, but Mu Yao didn't even look at him. Brat, have you decided? Mu Yun didn't even raise his head as he punched forward. Had no time to prepare for a quick punch. After being struck in the stomach, his body caved in and he explosively retreating dozens of steps before falling to the ground. Poochie, a mouthful of blood sprayed out. He really is trash. He vomited blood just like that. I can't even take a single punch. Ha ha. Servant disciples are servant disciples. Not to mention having poor talent. Even their physical bodies are so weak. Ha ha ha. Many people in the crowd were laughing at him. Mu Yun looked at Mu Yao, who was walking past him. He wished so much that Mu Yao could turn around and look at him, wished so much that he could say a few words for him. As long as Mu Yao spoke out, these people would definitely not make a move. However, no. In the end, Mu Yao did not turn back, as she did not even pay attention to what was happening around her. She never wasted her time on unimportant people. He would not even bother about a service disciple. Mu Yun laughed bitterly in his heart. She is a goddess that is above others. Why would she care about someone like me? Besides, she doesn't know me, so why should she help me? Mu Yun, you are really a toad that wants to eat swan meat. You're daydreaming. His heart sank. Boom. He abruptly stood up from the ground and said, You've already fought and scolded. Is that enough? He was infuriated. Moreover, although the goddess did not save him, he wanted to be a little more unyielding in front of the goddess, at least on the surface. This was self-esteem. Ouch! The leader of the disciples stepped forward and coldly snorted. You dare to speak to me like this, you lowly servant. You must be tired of living. Mu Yun clenched his fists tightly and said, "We are all disciples of the Mu clan. Are you not as relaxed as us service disciples? If you dare to attack again, don't blame me for retaliating." As soon as he finished, those green token disciples were enraged. A service disciple actually wanted to fight back? What was this? Wasn't this turning the sky upside down? What was the status of a service disciple? In the Mu clan, they were just low-class people with no status at all. And it was exactly because their talent was too low that they could not do anything in their entire lives. This kind of person would never be able to turn his back. So what if you're a disciple of the Mu clan? You still dare to be arrogant? He was more like a masochist. Fight back. Kid, you're tired of living. You, a trash, dare to retaliate? Sure, I will definitely teach you a good lesson today. While they were talking, several green token disciples surrounded him, and the leading disciple shouted, "Let me do it. Today, I will cripple him." As he spoke, his right fist moved, his waist sank, his power surged out, blasting right into Mu Yun's chest with a loud sound. 8-burst fist. Bam! A fist landed on Mu Yun's chest, but Mu Yun did not dodge. He felt a splitting pain in his chest, and his body continuously retreated backwards. At the same time, 8 sounds rang out from his body. Bang, bang, bang. Boss is awesome. 8-burst fist, 8 explosive sounds. Boss has already grasped the essence of the 8-burst fist. So powerful. A few lackeys praised. Being able to produce 8 echoes of the 8-burst fist, this fist technique was indeed not bad. Even the nearby Mu Yao had slightly stopped as he turned his head to look at the disciple with the green token. Those few underlings immediately said, "Boss, Goddess Mu Yao is looking at you." Wow, senior sister couldn't have fallen for you, right? Haha, it must be. The boss is so mighty. Even Goddess Mu Yao looks at him in a different light. This year's South Area assessment will definitely give you a spot as the boss. All kinds of flattery flew in the air. The disciple in the lead was also extremely pleased with himself, and his tail was almost sticking up to the sky. The reason he cultivated the 8-burst fist was to attract Mu Yao's attention. It was because he knew that Mu Yao had always been training in the 8-burst fist, and it was also because of Mu Yao's presence that he was able to use the 8-burst fist. After training, Mu Yao would definitely look for him to discuss about the 8-burst fist. When he thought of this, he felt even more proud. The 8 explosions just now were so intense that it seemed very impressive. However, the damage was not great. Mu Yun was someone who understood, and at the beginning, he thought that he would at least be severely injured and collapse, but that didn't make his heart tremble. Is the 8-burst fist different from the Boss 8-burst fist? Boss 8-burst fist could take half of the stone wolf's life, but it didn't hurt much when it hit me. He was slightly surprised. He was very clear about how strong Long Fei's 8-burst fist was. The disciple in front of him, Mu Shan, was on a completely different level from him. Moreover, last night, Long Fei had also told him about the cultivation method and details of the 8-burst fist. Although he did not succeed in cultivating it, he felt that the 8-burst fist that he had mastered was stronger than Mu Shan's. However, even if the power was not strong, blood still flowed out from the corner of Mu Yun's mouth. Mu Shan's pupils sank, and the corner of his eye twitched a few times. He stared at Mu Yun and said, "You want to die, right? Then I shall raise the power of the 8-burst fist to its highest level." It was loud. It was purposely told to Mu Yao. The surrounding underlings all whispered, "Boss, Goddess Mu Yao is still looking at you. Boss, do your best. Ha! Boss, this punch will definitely kill this trash." Mu Shan was very excited. If he did not use his full strength for the previous punch, then he would definitely use all his strength for this punch, because he would make Mu Yao not forget him. This world pursued the highest realm. The powerhouse was respected. Women like powerhouse. As long as he could unleash the true power of the 8-burst fist, Mu Yao would definitely like him. Buzz! The moment his waist moved, his strength surged upwards. He raised his right fist and dove downwards. 8-burst fist. A fist struck toward Mu Yun's chest. Mu Yun stood in place, his mind carefully recalling the details of the 8-burst fist that Long Fei had told him. Strength is born from the heart. Run whole body. Raising his right fist, he lowered it. Facing Mu Shan's fist, Mu Yun's eyes turned sinister. His fist struck out straight. At the same time, he shouted out, 8 bursts fist. Everyone shivered. Who would have thought that Mu Yun would actually dare to counterattack and even use 8 bursts fist? 8 bursts fist. He's a bastard, right? Ha! For a mere service disciple, not to mention having the qualifications to cultivate the 8 burst fist, he would not even have the slightest bit of power to do so. Just look at him. He knows he doesn't have any strength. Many of the people nearby began to mock him. Mu Shan even revealed a look of disdain. At this moment, the 2 fists collided. Bam! A loud explosion sounded as the 2 forces collided. Mu Yun's arm bent slightly, his body sank, and consecutively exploded backwards, as though his entire arm was crippled. Trash is trash. Servant disciples must have the consciousness to become a service disciple. Acting tough on our boss. You're still far from it. Seeing Mu Yun retreating, everyone laughed. However, at this moment, Mu Shan stood where he was without moving, and his body exploded with 8 intense sounds. Explode, 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 explode. 8 ear-piercing explosions resounded, exploding on practicing courtyard. Almost everyone turned to look at Mu Shan, because these 8 explosive sounds were too ear-piercing and too unfamiliar. What kind of cultivation technique could produce such a loud noise? When they saw the explosive sounds coming from Mu Shan's body, they were all stunned. At the same time, 8 places on Mu Shan's body exploded outwards. It was like his meridians exploding. Fresh blood spurted out. Mu Shan's face also became extremely pale. Her body sank as her eyes firmly locked onto Mu Yun, and then his body went limp and he fell backward. He had fainted. The entire courtyard was in complete silence. All of them looked at Mu Yun with dumbstruck expressions. Mu Yun was also secretly surprised. He never thought that his own 8-burst fist would completely suppress Mu Shan's 8-burst fist. One must know that he was 3 realms lower than Mu Shan. Just by suppressing his cultivation level, it was impossible for him to injure Mu Shan. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to use just 1 night of cultivation to injure the 8-burst fist. There was only one explanation for all of this. Mu Yun and Mu Shan's 8-burst fist were not the same. This was the only explanation. They were both at the 8-burst fist, and their cultivation was not as strong as Mu Shan's. But Mu Yun had one. Half a minute passed, and everyone in the audience was looking at Mu Yun, and Mu Yao was similarly looking at him. Mu Yun noticed that this was the first time the goddess in his heart looked at him with such seriousness. She was feeling a little proud and excited in her heart. However, it was not as overjoyed as he had imagined. Very strange. It was as if he didn't like it at all. He couldn't tell why. Mu Yao was very astonished in his heart because the earlier punch from Mu Yun had unleashed all of the 8-burst fist power. One explosive attack was stronger than the other, especially the 8th explosion's damage. However, she could only do the 7th explosion. Her heart was filled with doubt. She had even started to think that the one who swept the floor yesterday morning was Mu Yun, that it was Mu Yun who had said those words to her. Right now, she really wanted to cultivate to the 8th explosive power. Looking at Mu Yun, she walked over. Seeing the goddess walk towards him, Mu Yun was a little excited in his heart. However, without waiting for Mu Yao to reach his side, Mu Shan's minions immediately surrounded Mu Yun. What a good service disciple. You actually dare to injure a regular disciple. You, a service disciple, don't even have the qualifications to cultivate the 8-burst fist. You actually dared to secretly learn it. According to the family rules, we should break both his arms. Brothers, let's attack together and cripple him. Mu Yun had one, and their faces were all over the place. If they did not cripple Mu Yun, what face would they have in the future? Everyone surged forward at the same time and tightly surrounded Mu Yun. The reason why Mu Yun could injure Mu Shan was because he underestimated his opponent. Furthermore, Mu Yun had used his super strength to unleash his attacks. But such an explosion could not continue to occur. He hadn't completely mastered the 8-burst fist. If he were to be called upon to fight back, he would definitely be unable to unleash the might he had just displayed. In addition, there were 6 or 7 people here. Every single one of them had a higher cultivation base than him, so he simply wasn't his match. He couldn't withstand it at all. After a few moves, he was pressed to the ground. Mu Yun, who was walking towards him, stopped midway and looked at him, but did not have any intentions of helping him. Mu Yun felt a slight chill in his heart. Hold his hand. I'm going to cripple him. You actually dared to secretly learn a cultivation technique. Today I will break your hand. A man escaped with a long blade and slashed at Mu Yun's hand. Practicing courtyard did not stop them. He was just a service disciple. Even if he knocked Mu Shan out just now, he was still a service disciple. Who would take an extra look? Who cares? No one. Even if it was Mu Yao, she only looked at him coldly. She had initially thought that Mu Yun had grasped the essence of the 8-burst fist, but seeing how he was beaten up by several people, she knew she was mistaken. That punch must have been a coincidence. It was just a coincidence. If one could cultivate the 8-burst fist to such a level, would they still be afraid of these minions? It could be seen that Mu Yun did not have control over the 8-burst fist. He felt slightly disappointed. Mu Yao looked at Mu Yun, whose hands were about to be crippled, and did not say anything. It was because a service disciple did not have the qualifications to cultivate the 8-burst fist. He must have been secretly learning. The management of the technique was very strict in the Mu clan. Any scholar who stole it would be punished. Thus, she turned slowly. At this moment, Mu Yun was in despair. Hold him down. With a loud shout, he chopped down with his blade. At this moment, bam! A muffled sound rang out as a figure quickly dashed over and said in a heavy voice, "Who dares to move my brother?" The aura on his body suddenly exploded. It directly made those small fries retreat a few steps. The person who came was none other than the Long Fei, who had rushed back in a hurry. What Long Fei was releasing was not pressure, but killing intent that came from 1,000 gold and 100 battle. Boss! The corners of Mu Yun's eyes were wet. If he was 1 second late, his hand would have been severed. Long Fei immediately helped Mu Yun up and said, "Are you all right?" Mu Yun shook his head. "I won't die." However, Mu Yun looked at the small fry and at the same time gathered many people from the practicing courtyard. Another service disciple? Damn, are all the service disciples these arrogant? Lawless, what is a mere service disciple up to? You're courting death. There were many servant disciples who did not like him, let alone such arrogant servant disciples like Long Fei. Long Fei's arrogant appearance on the stage made many disciples of practicing courtyard unhappy. Long Fei said in a deep voice and said, "Stop with the nonsense. Who wants my brother's hands? Now let's try touching him." Since he had already accepted Mu Yun as his lackey, then Long Fei would treat him as a brother. And Mu Yun was not bad to him. Seeing his own brother being humiliated, Long Fei couldn't help but laugh. A service disciple like you wants to stand up for him? You have to consider yourself. If you try to stick your neck out, see if you can walk out of here today. A few disciples walked up. At this moment, the door to the training room was pushed open and an old man walked out. The old man said in a deep voice, "Why are you making so much noise so early in the morning? Didn't he need to train? How much time is left for the examination?" His words were filled with anger. All of the disciples trembled slightly. One of the disciples said, "Elder, there's a service disciple who is secretly learning a cultivation technique and ambushing a disciple of our practicing courtyard. Stealthily learning cultivation techniques?" The elder frowned and snorted. He did not bother examining the elder and immediately ordered, "You have secretly learned cultivation techniques and crippled his hands according to the circumstances. You are expelled from God Living Mountain." Receiving the elder's order, those disciples became more imposing. Mu Yun's body slightly trembled. His life was probably over. The elder had already given the order. There was no way he could wash away the crime of stealing knowledge. At this time, Long Fei took a step forward. Mu Yun pulled him back, shook his head, and said, "Boss, don't go. Since you've acknowledged me as your boss, then I have a duty to protect you." Long Fei took a step forward and said solemnly, "Secretly learning cultivation techniques? Who here can prove it? The 8-burst fist you guys are cultivating is just a pile of crap. Even if I had to learn it, I wouldn't be bothered to take a look." Long Fei was tyrannical to the extreme. As soon as he finished, the entire practicing courtyard seemed to have exploded. The 8-burst fist is a piece of dog shit. The 8-burst fist is a piece of dog shit. Even if I were to learn it for him, wouldn't I be too lazy to even glance at it? This wasn't arrogance. This was arrogance without boundaries. Insolent to the point of being a complete mess. Everyone looked at Long Fei, and in an instant, it was incomparably quiet. Who would dare to say such words? And what is this in front of the clan elders of the practicing courtyard? This was a provocation. This was ignoring the existence of the practicing courtyard. All of a sudden, all of the disciples of the practicing courtyard were burning with rage as they stared at Long Fei with wide eyes. As long as an elder gave the order, they would attack him together. These disciples were furious. Even the elder Mu Wufeng was instantly enraged as he violently released the aura from his body and said with a heavy voice, "What an arrogant tone." A powerful pressure directly attacked Long Fei's mind. What cultivation did Mu Wufeng have? Mystic Moon Realm. His cultivation could suppress Long Fei by 10 streets, and the divine moon might that he released was extremely ferocious. He was determined to make Long Fei kneel on the ground and let Long Fei know what strength was. However, just as Mu Wufeng had expected, Long Fei was stomped on the ground. But in reality, Long Fei did not move. The immense pressure was like a clay ox entering the ocean. There was no echo at all. It was as if there was no pressure at all. Long Fei was like a boulder, standing firmly and unmoving. Mu Wufeng's eyes turned sinister. He stared straight at Long Fei, and the spirit chi on his body surged. Boom! A muffled sound rang out. The disciples near him were directly blown away by this force, and this force issued a series of vicious beast roars in the air. Imperceptibly, the shadow of a demon beast came crashing down. The imposing aura was like a beast as it opened its mouth and swallowed Long Fei whole. However, just like before, the strong pressure immediately struck Long Fei's body and disappeared without a trace. Mu Wufeng's pupils constricted. He could not understand it at all. A mere service disciple, who is only a god state, how could he resist the pressure of the divine moon realm? Even if he had a defensive treasure on him, he wouldn't be able to block it. The realm was the absolute power. Mu Wufeng couldn't understand, but he was actually a little confused. When the first wave of pressure arrived, Long Fei's mind tensed up. Before he even made his move to defend, his heart suddenly exploded with power. As powerful as the ocean, he directly absorbed Mu Wufeng's pressure. At this time, Long Fei suddenly remembered that his heart had been assembled before. His heart was no longer the heart it used to be, but a piece of black stone. Its function was to make Long Fei more resilient. Long Fei was very shocked. What made him even more shocked was that there was a second pressure approaching. This pressure was even stronger, but it was still the same, directly absorbed. It was like a grain of sand falling into the ocean, not even a splash. How strong was the black stone's heart? It was a little scary. Did not feel the slightest bit of pressure from the two auras. With a relaxed expression, he looked at the stupefied Mu Wufeng and said, "So the pressure can crush this, Daddy?" Completed rolling over them? "I can leave now." The attack that Long Fei hated the most in his life was crushing pressure. Mu Wufeng's anger surged, and he shouted, "Impudent! A lowly service disciple dares to run wild in practicing courtyard? Do you think that's possible?" Mu Wufeng did not release any more pressure, but walked towards Long Fei. Long Fei was also suppressing his anger in his heart, and said, "We already fought, and even scolded. Even Elder, you released your pressure to crush us. Is that not enough? Are you still going to bite?" Long Fei finished. The crowd of disciples angrily asked, "Brat, what are you talking about? Who are you calling a dog? This kid is secretly learning a skill. He should chop off both hands according to the method." You actually dare to contradict an elder? You're even more guilty. Today, the two of you can forget about leaving this place alive. How could a mere service disciple allow you all to behave so atrociously here? The disciples of the practicing courtyard were all indignant. Being suppressed by a service disciple made them very unhappy. Mu Wufeng had already walked to the front of Long Fei and stared at him, stealthily learning techniques, offending an elder, dual offenses together. The two of you break your own hands and get the hell out of God Living Mountain. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he coldly snorted. You refuse to admit it when giving me face? Mu Wufeng glared angrily. The power of the divine moon beneath his palm started to surge, and the surrounding strength stripes S could be seen clearly. He was furious to the extreme. He could make his move against Long Fei at any time. At this moment, Mu Dafu hurriedly squeezed in the crowd, bowed, and smiled along. Elder of Wu's Peak, please calm your anger. Please calm your anger. Mu Yun and Long Fei gave a respectful bow to Mu Dafu as well. Master Manager. Mu Dafu gave Long Fei a pretty good feeling. Although he had a strict mouth, he was a good person. He wanted to protect Long Fei last night, and that made Long Fei feel touched. Therefore, he still had respect for Mu Dafu. Mu Dafu said harshly, You two scoundrels, why are you still hanging around here? Get the hell out of my way. Mu Dafu kicked Long Fei's butt. Long Fei rubbed the bridge of his nose, supporting Mu Yun as he prepared to leave. However, Mu Wufeng said solemnly, Stop. Mu Dafu said repeatedly, Elder Wu's Peak, these two brats have angered you. I will definitely teach them a lesson when I get back, and will definitely give them a heavy punishment. What do you think? Mu Wufeng coldly glanced at Mu Dafu and said sinisterly, Who the hell do you think you are? Do you have the qualifications to speak to me? Mu Dafu was not angry at all. There was not a single trace of anger on his face, and he smiled apologetically. Right. My status is low, and I am not fit to speak to you. Please spare them. They are all children. Since you know your status is low, then scram to the side, understand? Mu Wufeng did not give Mu Dafu the slightest bit of face and stare at Long Fei. These two brats, one secretly learned a cultivation technique, and the other talked back to an elder. None of them will be able to leave today. Mu Dafu secretly furrowed his brows and said, Elder Wu's Peak, you said that it is absolutely impossible for them to have secretly learned cultivation techniques. They have only been in the Eastern 3 great academies for a few days, and with their innate talent, even if they were given 3 years' time, they would still not be able to cultivate. Yes, there must be a misunderstanding. Mu Yin also immediately said, Master Manager, we did not secretly learn their techniques. Mu Wufeng stared at him. You still dare to say? I saw the 8-burst fist that you just made with my own eyes. 8 loud explosions. Could it be that I'm deaf? You dare say that this is not the 8-burst fist. You are just a service disciple and do not have the qualifications to practice the 8-burst fist. If you did not learn it secretly, how did you get it? Mu Yun was speechless. Long Fei said lightly, Since you said it's a secret study, then why is your disciple lying on the ground? Is my brother still well? How many martial arts techniques are similar in this world? If you say you want to learn secretly, you should learn secretly. I also said that the 8-burst fist you cultivate in is something you learned from me. You still dare to quibble. You still dare to quibble. See if I smash your mouth or not. Mu Wufeng took a step forward and was about to make his move. Seeing that, Mu Dafu could only go forward and block in front of Long Fei, and said, Wu's Peak Elder, you must be mistaken. It must be a misunderstanding. Please clear this up. Wu's Peak Clan Elder. He had to protect Long Fei. This was his mission. Even if he died, he had to preserve Long Fei's life. Mu Wufeng was at the first stage of the Divine Moon Realm, so if he made a move, Long Fei would definitely not be able to withstand it. Mu Wufeng was furious. He stared at Mu Dafu and bellowed, Try stopping me again. Do you believe I won't take your life? While they were talking, Mu Wufeng kicked Mu Dafu. Mu Dafu did not dodge. After being heavily kicked, he was forced to kneel on the ground as well. He did not get up and said, "Elder Wu's peak. Even if the two of them are at fault, they are still subject to the law enforcement hall's law enforcement." When Long Fei saw Mu Dafu being kicked to his knees on the ground, he was even more unsatisfied. He rushed forward and said with a heavy voice, "Since you say that our cultivation techniques were secretly learnt by you, then fine. Let's compete. Let's see who was the one who secretly picked up who." As soon as he finished, Mu Dafu's eyes tensed up and anxiously said, "Clan Elder Wu's peak. This child is not sensible. Please do not take him seriously." Mu Wufeng laughed coldly, stared at Long Fei, and said, "Kid, you said it yourself. Since it's a competition, then add another prerequisite. Life and death will be decided by the heavens." Mu Yan's expression changed as he immediately pulled Long Fei back. He shook his head and said, "Boss, don't compete." Mu Dafu was also slightly nervous as he said, "Bastard, this is the practicing courtyard. Where you're acting so wildly, quickly apologize to me." What did life and death by the heavens mean? This meant that people would die in the competition. Moreover, Long Fei was only at the middle stage of the God of Heaven realm, while the cultivation of the practicing courtyard's disciples were all above his. Long Fei died. However, Mu Wufeng didn't give Long Fei a chance to go back on his words. With a cold voice, he said, "Kid, either we'll compete according to your suggestion, or else. Today, the two of you should keep your hands from me." Long Fei said, "Let's compete. Whoever we compete will get a grandson." "All right." Enter the arena. Mu Wufeng let out a deep sigh as he glanced at Long Fei, thinking in his heart, "You dog, a mere heavenly god middle stage actually dares to behave atrociously in front of me. I'll take your dog life later." Many disciples of the practicing courtyard were also excited. "Brat, you're dead for sure. Causing trouble on our turf? If I can get you out of here alive today, my name will be written in reverse." Servant disciples dare to be so arrogant. You're courting death. The disciples of practicing courtyard began to walk towards the stage. Mu Yun's face darkened and said, "Boss, their cultivation is higher than us by a few levels. How can we compare? Moreover, they might not compete with you in 8-burst fist." Mu Dafu gently exhaled a breath of air as he looked at Long Fei. It was already impossible for him to save Long Fei now, so he patted on Long Fei's shoulder and said, "Protecting your own life on the stage, remembering your own life, is everything." He also thought that Long Fei wouldn't win. After all, with Long Fei's cultivation level here, with such a huge gap, how would he win? If it was yesterday, Long Fei really might not have been able to win. However, with the power of inscription in his hands, Long Fei's strength could increase by several times. Without mentioning anything much, there should not be any opponents under the Divine Moon realm. In the entire practicing courtyard, other than Mu Wufeng, all the other disciples were God state. Long Fei said lightly, "Don't worry, I will be able to protect myself. Kid, get the hell up here." On the arena, a disciple of the 7th level of the Divine Realm was clamoring. Mu Dafu's gaze darkened as he said, "7th level of the God of Heaven Realm." Brat. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei had already walked out. Mu Wufeng said in a bland voice, "Mu Hai, show him what an 8-burst fist is." As he spoke, he slightly raised his gaze. On the stage, Mu Hai understood tacitly and said while looking at Long Fei with a cold smile, "Brat, quickly come up and test my 8-burst fist." Long Fei walked up the stage. In that instant, all the practicing courtyardests were shouting, "Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! Let's see if he still dares to be arrogant." The voice was too loud, attracting quite a few onlookers to watch. Amongst them, Mu Yuanin was one of them. He looked at Long Fei, who was on the stage. His eyes changed slightly. "It's him." He was shocked. "Everyone come, quickly. The service disciple is challenging the practicing courtyard's disciples. Everyone, come and take a look." Servant disciples challenge practicing courtyard's green card disciple. Which service disciple would be so crazy? Did his brain get flooded, or was he kicked by a donkey? Is this service disciple afraid of death? He should be tired of living. This was the first time that a white card service disciple had challenged a green card disciple in the Eastern District. After this rumor had spread, half of the people in the Eastern District knew about it. He rushed towards practicing courtyard like a tide. Many people even started gambling. In the arena, Muhai revealed a disdainful smile and said, "Brat, do you want me to explain to you what an 8-burst fist is first?" Long Fei laughed. "What you have is the 8-burst fist, and what I have is the 9-explosion fist. I can explain to you what the 9-explosion fist is." Muhai's eyes turned sinister as he shouted, "You're courting death." Before he could finish, his body shot out like a tense bow, an arrow. His speed could be said to be as fast as a 7th-grade Empyrean god. He rushed in front of Long Fei within the span of half a breath, moved his right fist, and roared, "8-burst fist." The punch's astral energy rumbled. This punch was clearly much stronger than Mu Shan's strength. Even Mu Yao, who was in the crowd, was starting to seriously look over. However, the corner of Long Fei's mouth raised slightly. He stepped forward and suddenly took 3 steps back. Buzz! When his fist missed, Mu Hai sneered, "Run? Can you escape?" After his punch missed, he turned around and attacked again. However, Long Fei's body sank the moment he landed and directly rushed up to the front with a cold smile on his face. 9-explosion fist. With a cold smile on his face, Mu Hai said, "Die, 8-burst fist." The 2 fists collided. The power behind the blow exploded. Long Fei took half a step back. Mu Hai directly flew out of the arena and landed 10 meters away. Bam! He fell down like a dog eating shit, his anger soaring to the skies. He slapped the ground and was about to rush up the arena again. However, Long Fei pointed a finger at him, gently shaking it, and said, "You are too weak." As soon as he finished, explode. Bang, 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 bang. Mu Hai's body produced 8 explosions in succession, and each explosion sent out a stream of blood. The 8 explosions on the spot made a blood man. Long Fei stared at Mu Wufeng and laughed. "Do you know what the 9-explosion fist is?" The first would be to eat sh*t, while the other 8 would be more or less the same. Did you see it clearly? Do you want me to teach you? Being humiliated like this, Mu Wufeng was so angry that smoke was coming out from his head. Even though Mu Hai wasn't his strongest disciple, he was still considered to be one of the disciples that he was very proud of, especially when he cultivated the 8-burst fist to the point of exploding 8 times. Even though Mu Hai wasn't his strongest disciple, he was still considered to be one of the disciples that he was very proud of, especially when he cultivated the 8-burst fist to the point of exploding 8 times. It could be said that he was an outstanding figure other than Mu Yao. A punch was thrown out of the arena. 8 explosive sounds rang out from his body, but it was forcefully described as another fist technique. This made Mu Wufeng very embarrassed. The anger in his heart flared up. He stared at Long Fei with sunken eyes, and his teeth chattered loudly. Despite being angry, his heart was still cold. This guy's fist techniques are indeed different from the 8-burst fist, but they are more or less the same. The basis of his fist techniques are also the same. Why is there such a big difference in power? Why is that? He was puzzled. However, now was not the time to think about such things. His own disciple had been knocked out by a service disciple. Where'd he put his face? Mu Wufeng immediately replied, "Who's going?" His eyes could not help but look at Mu Yun. Mu Yun was the best disciple who cultivated in the 8-burst fist. Moreover, her cultivation was at the 9th stage of the God of Heaven, and there was a high chance that she could enter South area this year. If she appeared, she would definitely win. It was just that Mu Yao's eyes were fixated on Long Fei, who was standing on the stage, and she was equally puzzled in her heart. Could it be that he has long cultivated the 8-burst fist? I have perfectly displayed the power just now. Each punch is stronger than the last. Especially during the 8th echo, it really did come from the sea of consciousness. You must know something different. What is it? Mu Yao really wanted to know. Mu Dafu was just as shocked as her. He looked calm on the surface, but his heart was in turmoil. He was very clear that Long Fei had just arrived in the Mu clan, and the 8-burst fist was something that the patriarch of the Mu clan had invented, so no one outside would know about it. To master the 8-burst fist in one day, a completely different 8-burst fist. The fist technique created by the master had been perfected, becoming the real 8-burst fist. This kid, who is it? Old patriarch. You're not going to tell me his background? Is he really the illegitimate child of the eldest young master? Is this a low-level talent? Old patriarch, you're messing with me. Mu Dafu was very shocked in his heart. Long Fei had really shocked him too much. He thought it was just to protect an illegitimate child. Unexpectedly, this brat was completely different. Mu Yun stood at the side with a face full of excitement and shouted, "Boss is mighty. Boss is domineering, huh? Practicing courtyard's people will call again. What's your 8-burst fist? My big brother's 9-explosion fist is the most awesome. Ha!" Mu Yun vented out fiercely. All the disciples of the practicing courtyard had ugly expressions. All of them wished that they could tear Long Fei apart. As Mu Wufeng's words fell, quite a few 8th-stage god-level disciples walked up and said, "Master, I'll take care of him." How could a mere service disciple make him ascend to the heavens? "Master, let me go. I'll definitely kill him." They were all united in their hatred and anger. If they were crushed by a mere service disciple, then how would they continue to be a disciple of the practicing courtyard? He had lost a lot of face. Mu Wufeng looked at Long Fei, who was on the stage, and knew that Long Fei was not simple. Let's not talk about the realm. Practicing the so-called 9-explosion fist was not simple. It must be a powerful cultivation technique. Even several realms higher would be unable to withstand the explosive power of this cultivation technique. It definitely could not lose the second battle after losing one. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. Thus, Mu Wufeng walked in front of Mu Yao and said, "Mu Yao, you go up for this match." As his voice fell, the disciples who were cultivating far away began to boil with excitement. Who is Mu Yao? The goddess of the Eastern District was also the strongest person in their practicing courtyard, especially the 8-burst fist. The elder had once said that he had never seen anyone who was able to cultivate the 8-burst fist to the kind of realm that Mu Yao was in. Moreover, her talent was very high. To be able to reach the 9th level of the God of Heaven at the age of 18, his future journey would definitely be limitless. If she appeared, she would surely win. Senior sister, kill him. Senior sister, show him the truth. Let him know the power of our practicing courtyard. Kid, just wait for your death. Many of the surrounding disciples were excitedly discussing. Mu Wufeng waited for Mu Yao's reply. Mu Yao's eyes tensed up. He was silent for a moment, and then said indifferently, "Elder, if it's a competition of 8-burst fist, I'm not his match." She had yet to cultivate to the 8th explosive power. Moreover, the reason why she was able to cultivate to the 7th burst of power was also because of Long Fei's guidance. If not for Long Fei, the 8-burst fist that she was currently training in would only be an empty shell. Long Fei could release the full power of the 8-burst fist, but she could not. If it was purely based on the power of the 8-burst fist, her victory wasn't too big. Mu Wufeng's face darkened. He was extremely displeased and said, "He is only at the 5th stage of the God of Heaven level. Your cultivation can completely crush him. Your cultivation is stronger than him. Even if your 8-burst fist is not strong enough, it is enough to defeat him." Mu Yao said, "If we use the power of our realms, wouldn't that be a violation of the bet?" She was only thinking about the competition of the 8-burst fist. If she did not use 8-burst fist, or with her cultivation realm, she had the absolute confidence to defeat Long Fei. After all, Long Fei was just a lowly servant. Mu Wufeng said, "Right now, it is no longer a wager, but a matter of face for the practicing courtyard. If I allow you to come up, it will help you recover your dignity for the practicing courtyard, and it will be beneficial for your test in the near future." "Can you fight for practicing courtyard?" Mu Wufeng looked at Mu Yao. At this time, Long Fei, who was on the stage, could roughly tell that Mu Wufeng wanted Mu Yao to go up and fight. With a smirk, he said, What practicing courtyard? There's not a single one that can fight. These words infuriated the entire practicing courtyard. Too arrogant. Damn, this kid doesn't even put practicing courtyard as eyes at all. Haha. Is this the first time practicing courtyard has been humiliated like this? Very arrogant. Huh. Many of the disciples outside started laughing, which made the hearts of the practicing courtyard disciples even more uncomfortable. Mu Wufeng said solemnly, "Did you hear that? He has already straddled practicing courtyard's neck to the point of pooping. Are you still not going to fight? If we do not fight, then the status of our practicing courtyard disciples will not be as high as that of service disciples." Mu Yao clenched both his fists tightly and said, "All right, I'll fight." As soon as he finished, Mu Yao leaped into the air. Whoosh! With one step on the stage, he stared coldly at Long Fei. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly as he laughed. "Eastern District Goddess, hee. His looks are just average." Mu Yao frowned. Long Fei said, "Don't be angry. Although I don't like you, my brother likes you. As my brother's woman, I will teach you the 9-explosion fist." Mu Yun liked Mu Yao, so he was very clear about this in his heart. Mu Yun liked Mu Yao, so he was very clear about this in his heart. The reason why Mu Yun unleashed 8-burst fist was so that no one would pay attention to him. Even, he wanted Mu Yao to say something for him. At that time, as long as Mu Yao had said something, Mu Yun would be fine, and so much would not have happened. But Mu Yao did not do anything. It could be seen that in her eyes, Mu Yun was only a low-level service disciple. She should be looking down on Mu Yun, just like how she looked at Long Fei with eyes full of contempt yesterday afternoon. She similarly looked down on him. How could there be a lowly service disciple in the eyes of such a sacred and aloof swan? Thus, Long Fei wanted to play with her. Sure enough, Mu Yao's face sank and looked somewhat ugly. He stared coldly at Long Fei and said, "You think a service disciple like you can do whatever you want just because you know a little about cultivation techniques? Who do you think you are? You should be more clear-headed and know your own identity." Since she was young, no one had dared to say that to her. Long Fei's words were a great humiliation to her. A service disciple liking her? She felt a little sick. Be his woman? Hee. She wouldn't even consider dying. There wasn't a man in the East End she liked. Long Fei smiled faintly. "I naturally know my own identity, and you don't have to pretend to be so noble. If my brother likes you, that would be when your ancestors burned incense, and you only have one chance. I will tell you very seriously right now, and I hope you will seriously consider it." Long Fei was not joking. He spoke very seriously to Mu Yao. However, in Mu Yao's opinion, this was simply humiliating him. Everyone in the entire practicing courtyard began to laugh. Is this person crazy? Who's his brother? Is he some genius? Yes, it's that wounded service disciple. It's that service disciple called Mu Yun. The woman that asked my goddess to be her janitor disciple. I don't agree. Of course, a service disciple's brother is a service disciple. Who else could he be? I think he's a little crazy. A service disciple isn't even qualified to carry my goddess' shoes. Many people were unhappy. After all, Long Fei had desecrated their goddess. Mu Yun's expression was also very awkward and uncomfortable. He looked at Long Fei as he continuously shook his head, just wanted to make him stop. He had never imagined Mu Yao to be his woman. He only thought that it was enough for Mu Yao to look at him seriously. Long Fei's words made him feel embarrassed, but he knew in his heart that Long Fei wanted him to see Mu Yao clearly. This kind of woman was not worth him loving. It was just that the method was too direct. Long Fei said, "Think carefully. This is the only chance you have in your life, being my brother's woman. You can have whatever you want." Mu Yao said coldly, "There is no need to think about it. I will answer you right now. It's impossible. Servant disciple, inferior talent. Do you think that this kind of person is compatible with me?" Mu Yao's anger was suppressed. She had initially wanted to truly spar with Long Fei on 8-burst fist, but now she only thought of one thing, and that was to tear Long Fei's mouth apart. Long Fei asked again, "Have you really considered this carefully?" Mu Yao became angry from the embarrassment. His eyes tensed up as he stepped forward, Wong. A step of supreme force appeared under his feet. As soon as his aura surged, he suddenly moved. His speed was extremely fast, and his movement technique was extremely mysterious. He had to say it. Mu Yao had a few tricks up his sleeves, but it was not like Mu Hai or Mu Shan who were useless. The goddess has made her move. Ha ha! That kid is about to kneel on the ground. Kill him. Mu Yao was very famous in the eastern region, and many elders thought that she would be able to enter the south area this year to become a blue metal disciple. When she made her move, Mu Wufeng revealed a pleased smile. We won. He thought that Mu Yao would completely use the power of the 8-burst fist, but he didn't. This way, Mu Yao was definitely going to win. After all, his cultivation was there. It was impossible for a 5th-level deity to win against a 9th-level deity. Mu Yin shouted, "Boss, be careful." In his heart, Mu Yin was no longer the most important thing. The boss was everything. Mu Dafu's eyes also tensed up, power surging under his feet. He protected Long Fei well at any time and could not let him die. This was his mission. Whether Long Fei was injured or half dead, he could ignore them all, but he definitely could not let Long Fei die. He also knew Mu Yao's strength. Just now, when she exploded her power, she was already at the peak of the 9th stage. With such cultivation, she could be said to be an invincible existence under the divine moon realm. He was worried. In the arena, a strong gust of wind blew against his face. Mu Yao's figure constantly flickered. It was simply impossible to catch him. Long Fei's eyes continued to move. However, useless. Could not lock on a Mu Yao. In the end, he simply looked straight ahead. No matter what Mu Yao's gaudy footsteps were, he stood at his original position and waited for Mu Yao to come over. Attack would always be the same. Someone with Mu Yao's cultivation must be close to him in order to fully unleash his power. Thus, Long Fei only had to wait, and furthermore, he could not see Mu Yao's footsteps clearly. Long Quan's cultivation was not at Long Fei's 5th stage of the God of Heaven. Boom! Boom! A rumbling sound could be heard as the space between Long Fei's eyebrows tightened slightly. At this moment, Long Quan immediately shouted, "We're here!" At the same time, Long Fei's eyes suddenly widened, and he shouted, "9 explosion fist!" His right fist moved and blasted out. Time was just right. In this instant, Mu Yao's fist also just happened to appear. Boom! His strength exploded with a deafening boom. Long Fei kicked a few steps forward. The vital energy and blood under his chest started to boil, and his internal organs were all in turmoil. Similarly, Mu Yao was also forced to continuously retreat, and 8 exploding sounds came from her body. It was the same as the 8-burst fist, only that every echo's power was increasing by leaps and bounds. Heart, liver, lungs, kidney, sea of consciousness. They were all surging. It was very hard. However, she resisted. Even if she managed to resist, her heart was still incomparably shocked. His 8-burst fist is really too strong. Why is it that even though he is also an 8-burst fist, I am unable to release his power? However, no matter what, I must win today's battle. I must tear his mouth apart. Mu Yao's eyes were locked on a Long Fei. She moved and quickly attacked. This time, her speed was even faster, and with a heavy sound, she shouted, "Receive another 8-burst fist." Long Fei's heart shivered. Crap. The skill is still on cooldown. The cultivation techniques he cultivated in all belonged to the system skills, and every skill had a cooldown. He had just used the 8-burst fist, so he had not finished cooling down yet. Just then, he had talked a lot to buy time and used a cooldown skill. But right now, Mu Yao was about to attack. He no longer had any 8-burst fist to use. Using power of inscription, as the skills continued to cool down, the 8-burst fist could no longer be used. As the skills continued to cool down, the 8-burst fist could no longer be used. Even if he could use it, the strength of the 8-burst fist was not enough to defeat Mu Yao. The 9th stage of the God of Heaven realm, Mu Yao, was quite strong. The difference in realm between her and Long Fei was huge. If she wanted to surpass 4th stage, defeating him would be very difficult. However, the 8-burst fist was cooling, but the god's chop did not. God's chop's cooldown was different from normal skills. Its cooldown could be considered as a new day after midnight. Day after day. Using God's chop, Long Fei did not want to, because her surname was Mu and she was a disciple of her grandfather's family. Although Long Fei didn't like women like her, he wouldn't kill her. Thus, Long Fei could only use the power of inscription. Bang, bang, bang. Mu Yao was extremely fast. The impact of the supreme force was extremely strong. Long Quang also reminded, Master, 3 points on the left side. Her attack is about to fall. Long Fei's eyes darkened. The idea moved secretly. Then let's start the power of inscription. Buzz! A black imprint appeared under Long Fei's feet. It was a special symbol, like a large comma. However, the comma tail was constantly twisting. This imprint hindered Long Fei's body from the ground. In an instant, Long Fei's eyes also flashed a hint of light as an inscription mark similarly appeared. Both of his arms were densely covered with symbols under his sleeves. His fists moved. Long Fei shouted, 9 explosion fist. This was just a random shout. No one knew. He punched out. The 2 fists collided once again. When their powers clashed, at first, Mu Yao could feel how powerful Long Fei's power was, but he could still cope with it. At least he wouldn't be injured. But this time, the moment her fist touched Long Fei's fist, it was as if she wasn't fighting a human, but a monster. A monster the size of a mountain. That power could only be described with one word. Terrifying. Boom! A loud explosion resounded. Long Fei retracted his fist and stood in place without moving. Mu Yao's entire person was directly flung out, heavily smashing onto the ground of the stage, blood trickling out from the corner of his mouth, his face extremely pale. The entire hall was silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even the goddess of the East District was no match for him. The strongest amongst them, Mu Yao, was actually defeated and was thrown out of the arena with a single punch. Moreover, his opponent was only a service disciple. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed it. Even if they had seen it with their own eyes, a lot of people were rubbing their eyes, thinking that they were seeing things. However, Long Fei was the only one on the stage. Below the stage, Mu Yao stood up with much difficulty. His eyes stared straight at Long Fei and said solemnly, "This is not the power of the 8-burst fist at all." Long Fei smirked. "I'm not using the 8-burst fist. How can it be the power of the 8-burst fist? I used the 9-explosion fist." Mu Yao's eyes darkened. Long Fei laughed. "I could have taught you. What a pity. I told you before that there was only one chance. You did not know how to cherish it." Hearing Long Fei's words, Mu Yao's face became even uglier. Mu Yao stared at Long Fei for a moment, then turned and left. She had lost. If she stayed any longer, she would only be ridiculed by Long Fei. Long Fei looked at Mu Yun. Mu Yun was looking at Mu Yao. He wanted to go up and console him, but he knew that Mu Yao had never once looked at him. In Mu Yao's eyes, he was nothing, at most, just a passerby. Thinking of this, Mu Yun no longer looked at Mu Yao. Instead, he looked at Long Fei and said, "Boss is mighty." A goddess was something that could only be imagined. The boss was the real thing. Long Fei smiled slightly and thought to himself, "Brother, I hope you don't blame me." Then, Long Fei looked at Mu Wufeng and said, "Elder, my brother cultivates the 9-explosion fist, which is absolutely not the 8-burst fist of your practicing courtyard. Do you want me to continue?" If they had lost to Mu Yao, who among the disciples of the practicing courtyard could be his opponent? Mu Wufeng's teeth itched with hatred. He could not wait to cripple Long Fei with a single palm strike. However, there were quite a few elders in the East region now. It would be too dishonorable if he entered the arena. However, Mu Wufeng did not plan on letting Long Fei go, and said in a deep voice, "Even if your fist arts were not learned secretly, you went against an elder. What do you say?" Long Fei laughed. "If it wasn't for you and your disciple telling me that we were secretly learning cultivation techniques, would I have contradicted you?" "Argument," Mu Wufeng replied. "In your eyes, there is simply no practicing courtyardess and elders." Yes, It is my discipline that is not strict enough. Mu Dafu hurriedly walked forward and kicked Long Fei on his butt, saying, Elder Wu's peak. Don't worry, I will definitely punish him severely. He hasn't had a single normal month this year. I will also discipline him more strictly in the future. Please. Mu Dafu bowed and paid his respects, showing sufficient respect to Mu Wufeng. At this time, Mu Yuanin faintly said, There is no monthly rule for a year, so this punishment is not considered light at all. Elder Wu's peak, I think this matter should end here. He was pleading for Long Fei, because he felt that Long Fei was not simple. He had a feeling that the air in the practicing courtyard yesterday was poisonous, because Long Fei had reminded Dan Yuan's disciples that they should be able to escape this calamity. As for the god's illusion flower, it was naturally Long Fei who took it. Mu Wufeng squinted his eyes. Even Mu Yuanin had pleaded for mercy on his behalf. Even if he did not stop, he had to. Offending Mu Yuanin was not a wise move. And then, Mu Wufeng shouted, Kid, remember your identity, what you should do and what you shouldn't do in the future, understand? I'll forgive you today, but you won't be forgiven the next time you commit a crime. Long Fei had a face full of disdain, but Mu Dafu glared fiercely at him. He had no choice. Long Fei then said, Thank you for your teachings, Elder. This disciple will remember it. Mu Wufeng glanced at Long Fei and thought to himself, Brat, next time don't fall into my hands. If not, I will make you beg for death. At the same time, Long Fei was also thinking, You want to teach this daddy a lesson? Who do you think you are? If it wasn't for the large number of people here, I would have knocked you down with one move. Mu Dafu forced a smile, grabbed Long Fei's hand, and said loudly, The two of you come with me. Long Fei and Mu Yun lowered their heads and followed behind Mu Dafu. The road was crowded, but the three of them automatically made way for him. In the past, this would have been impossible. Just because Long Fei had beaten Mu Yao, Long Fei had won respect. This was the world of the powerhouse. Just as they were about to leave the practicing courtyard, Mu Yuanin called out, Wait! Mu Dafu immediately stopped and turned around as he said with an apologetic smile, Elder Yuanan, what may I do for you? Mu Yuanin replied, I don't have any instructions. I just wanted to remind you that there's no one cleaning the academy today. Remember to send someone to clean it. While talking, Mu Yuanin glanced at Long Fei. Her meaning was obvious. She wanted Long Fei to clean up the Pill Academy. Returning to his residence. Mu Dafu did not pursue the matter of Long Fei secretly learning cultivation techniques. He was not stupid. Looking at Long Fei's cultivation technique, he could immediately tell that it was 8 burst fist. It was just that Long Fei's power utilization was more perfect, and he had used the power of 8 burst fist to its maximum. What 9 explosion fists, it was all bullshit. He did not want to pursue this matter any further. Seeing Mu Yun bring the courtyard gate closed, he immediately looked at Long Fei and asked, Mu Fei, let me ask you this. Mu Wufeng, a military man with no brains. But Mu Yuanin is different. He's the highest level alchemy elder in the eastern region, and the consequences of provoking him would be bad. You better tell me the truth. Long Fei said as his brows tightened, I took a spirit grass. Now that Mu Yuanin asked about this step, and looking at Mu Yuanin's eyes, Long Fei knew that he would not be able to hide it anymore. As expected, Mu Dafu frowned. He did not scold him, but walked a few steps with his hands behind his back. Is it the god's illusion flower? Long Fei replied, Yes, I'll clean the pill room. That god's illusion flower is continuously releasing poisonous gas. If I don't take it away, someone in the academy will definitely have trouble. Mu Dafu asked, Yesterday, when Mu Yuanin blew up the furnace, was it you who reminded them about the poison in the air? Long Fei said, Amen. After all, they are innocent. Any death or injury will cause losses for the Mu clan. This was his grandfather's clan. This was also the reason why he didn't use his killing intent. If they were placed in another place, a few people on the stage would probably die. After all, these people were all experienced him. Making him give up experience was such a painful separation. Mu Dafu looked at Long Fei. He did not expect Long Fei to say this. He didn't know if what he said was true or false, but when Long Fei thought about the Mu clan, he was indeed a little touched. Mu Dafu said, "How did you know that the god's illusion flower could release poison gas? And how did you suppress its poison gas?" Long Fei said, "I just happened to see in a book on medicines. As for the poison aura that is suppressing it, it is also a coincidence. This cannot be said. He would never tell anyone about the system, not even his own father." Mu Dafu looked at Long Fei in shock and said, "You know about spirit grass? Understand alchemy?" "Air," Long Fei replied. "About that, I only know a little bit of it, nothing more." Mu Dafu looked at Long Fei with an even more astonished expression. Mu Yan also looked at Long Fei with a face full of shock and said, "Boss, you know this? A little knowledge? If it was theory, there were probably not many alchemy masters in the entire divine space more powerful than him. It was just that he did not have the ancient alchemy technique now, so it was actually difficult to manipulate. Long Fei was currently unable to use his alchemy. He didn't even have an alchemy technique now, so he didn't know how to use it at all. However, in theory, he could be said to be an invincible existence. About how much? Mu Dafu asked again. Long Fei's 2 fingers moved, pointing out distance. The distance between them was approximately 1 centimeter long, laughed lightly, and said, "It's only this small." Mu Dafu was stunned, and after pondering for a moment, he said, "It's extremely rare to know even a little about alchemy. How about this? How about I recommend you to the Pill Academy? Once you enter the Pill Academy, you will no longer need to go to the practicing courtyard to clean up. You will only be able to avoid them." He still wanted to protect Long Fei. After all, Long Fei's cultivation was too low. The 5th stage of the Empyrean God level was simply too low. Mu Yan also said excitedly, "Wow, head supervisor, you still have that kind of ability?" The boss hurriedly nodded his head. He must have been really lucky to enter the Pill Academy. The Pill Academy was a place where wealth flowed freely. The number of spirit dawn that the disciples of the Pill Institution received was far greater than that of ordinary disciples. And what did he have to say to that? The water tower gets the moon first. Long Fei replied, "There's no meaning, right? Entering the Pill Academy is just helping out every day." Mu Dafu replied, "Of course. You can only clean the courtyard after entering the Pill Academy. Do you think I have the ability to make you a disciple of the Academy? But since you entered the Pill Academy, if you really have the talent in alchemy, it is not impossible for you to work hard to become a disciple of the Academy. As long as you become a disciple of the Pill Academy, you can enter and leave the Eastern District as you please." There was a special treatment for the disciples of the Pill Academy, which meant they could freely enter and leave the East region, because they were ready to go and collect spirit grass at any time. Hearing Mu Dafu's words, Long Fei had a flash of inspiration and muttered in his heart, "Free to enter and leave the East region." And then Long Fei said, "I'll go." Mu Dafu revealed a smile. Looking at his smile, Long Fei thought in his heart, "Damn, he wouldn't know that I went out last night, right?" Mu Dafu said, "Follow me." Half an hour later, Mu Dafu brought Long Fei and appeared in Mu Yuanen's room. Mu Yuanen did not pursue the matter with the god's illusion flower any further, but looked at Long Fei and asked, "Was the person who was reminded yesterday really you?" At this point, Long Fei had nothing to hide and said, "It's me. I'm worried that they might be poisoned." "Very good. You did the right thing. It was my negligence. You helped me greatly." Mu Yuanen said. Long Fei replied, "God's illusion flower." Mu Yuanen said, "You should get rid of this kind of poisonous spirit grass. The reason you lied to me yesterday was because you were afraid that I would punish you. I'm fine. Now let me ask you, do you want to enter the Pill Academy?" Long Fei said, "I want to." He had come here just to be free. Mu Yuanen said, "Very good. Let me see how good your alchemy is. Hold out your hand." Long Fei did as he was told. Both of Mu Yuanen's hands moved, and a strand of power fell onto Long Fei's palm. After stopping for a dozen or so seconds, A shallow fire imprint appeared on Long Fei's palm. His eyes revealed a hint of joy. The attribute is fire. With mediocre talent, I barely qualify to become an alchemy master. This time, Long Fei was startled. Looking at the mark on his hand, Long Fei was extremely shocked in his heart. After his dragon power disappeared, it could be said that whether it was his inherent skill or his blood vein S, they were all gone. In the past, it was impossible to detect his talent, but he was an extremely strong one. Now his innate alchemy had actually been detected. How could he not be shocked? Could it be? Long Fei thought about the black stone from last night. Was it formed by combining the heart? Does it change in a day? Damn, this is too awesome. Mu Dafu was also overjoyed and said, Brat, why aren't you thanking the elders yet? Long Fei hugged both of his hands and said with force, Thank you very much, elder. Mu Yuan laughed and said, Don't thank me so quickly. If your talent isn't good enough, I can't do anything about it. It's just that your talent barely reaches the level of alchemy. From today onwards, you can start your studies in the Spirit Grass Room. The first step for any alchemy master is not to learn alchemy, but to recognize the spirit grass and to know the attributes of each spirit grass in order to better utilize it. Long Fei said, Disciple will remember. This was the most basic of all. Long Fei was currently thinking, if he could create such a talent in a single day, then what kind of level would his talent reach in a month? 100 days? What about a year? Could it be that my talent in the power of dragons will be trampled by me? The change in the blood vein was something that Long Fei had never expected. The change in the blood vein was something that Long Fei had never expected. The black stone was a technological product that allowed Long Fei's heart to mutate it. The heart was the center of blood flow, and it could create super strong blood vein S for Long Fei. At first, Long Fei did not believe it, but now he had no choice but to believe it. His body originally had no attributes at all, but now it was here. Inherent skill with alchemy. This allowed him to join the Pill Academy. After entering the Pill Academy, he was no longer a service disciple. There was no need for him to clean the courtyard every day. During the day, he studied and recognized Spirit Grass S in the Spirit Grass Room, even though he didn't need it at all, because within his realm, based on his understanding of blood veins' innate talent, any spirit grass that was brought to him would be able to completely display the attribute of a spirit grass. However, he still pretended to study every day. After all, he was only a new apprentice in the Pill Institution. During the day at the Pill Academy, Long Fei brought Mu Yun to climb over the wall and hunt demon beastess everywhere. At the same time, they passed down the key 8-burst fist techniques to Mu Yun. It was just a limitation of talent, so Mu Yun's cultivation speed wasn't fast. Even with Long Fei's guidance, he still wasn't able to improve too quickly. At this rate, Mu Yun should not have been able to participate in the South Area assessment before it started. It was very difficult for service disciples to participate in the assessment. They had to complete an A-class mission in order to be able to participate. Huff! Hoo. Boss, I can't take it anymore. I really can't take it anymore. Mu Yun's clothes were torn to shreds. There were several bone-deep wounds on his body. His face was pale, and he was panting heavily. His body could not even hold on any longer. Opposite him was a first-stage demon beast sword pig. Its two upturned fangs shone with a cold light. Its eyes stared straight at Mu Yun, its front claws digging into the ground, preparing to launch the next wave of respect. Long Fei stood at the other side and said, If you want to break through, you must break through the limits of your body. Talent doesn't represent everything. There is nothing fated in this world. God gave you a talent that limits your potential, and you accepted your fate just like that? If you accept your fate, then you are not worthy to be my, Mu Fei's, brother. Long Fei encouraged Mu Yun from the side. Talent has its advantages. No matter what one learns, they have an advantage. However, the heavens do not prescribe that those with low talent cannot cultivate. If I can't break through, I can't become a peak powerhouse. Mu Yun was currently restricted by his inherent skill. She had always thought her inherent skill was inferior to him, so even if she fought with all her might, it would be useless. Right now, he felt that he had reached his limit and was no longer able to unleash his potential. In reality, it wasn't. The human potential is limitless. Mu Yun gasped for breath, looked at Long Fei and shook his head. I really can't do it anymore. Long Fei said, "Do you want to enter the south area? Do you want Mu Yao to look straight at you? When we were in practicing courtyard, she didn't even look at you. The requests I gave her were like being humiliated." "Is that so?" Exploding, Long Fei roared loudly. Stimulated by Long Fei's angry shout, the sword pig suddenly rushed forward. Its iron-like nose dragged on the ground, causing sand and stone to fly everywhere. He was like a mad bull that had gone berserk. Mu Yun also let out a furious roar. Come on." He straightened his body. The strength in his body surged. His fist moved. Without caring about his life, he struck out 8 bursts fist. Bam! With a dull thud, a fist landed on the sword pig's forehead. In that instant, the sword pig's body exploded 8 times in a row, blood spurting out from its mouth. Seeing that the blood on its head was running low, Long Fei reacted quickly, and with a step, he sent it flying with a kick. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Sword Pig for obtaining 6,000 EXP, 600 Holy Source Points, 1 striking value point. Long Fei turned around and looked at Mu Yun, smiled lightly, and said, "Congratulations." Mu Yun was startled. Clenching his hands into fists, a sliver of excitement flashed across his eyes as he spoke. "Boss, I've broken through." "Haha, I actually broke through." He jumped up on the spot, as excited as a child. Breaking through to the next level was a very difficult thing for Mu Yun. He was eager to break through. Long Fei laughed and said, "Isn't this feeling of breaking through the limit very pleasurable?" Mu Yun nodded heavily and said, "Amen, boss. I understand what you have said. So what if your talent is limited?" "Haha," Long Fei said. "Since you understand, then why don't you go and kill the demon beast? Remember, every punch requires the power of the 8-burst fist, and only then will you be able to better utilize it." The consumption of Holy Source was also very fast, and its power was also very strong. To Mu Yun, this was a very good cultivation technique. Mu Yun took a step forward and quickly landed in front of the other sword pig and said, "I'll remember it." He was very excited. Looking at his excited expression, Long Fei opened the system and took a look at his own experience slot, muttering, "When can I level up? There are too few demon beasts here. If we continue to level up like this, it will be too slow." Long Fei needed 200,000 experience points to level up. For the current demon beast experience, 200,000 experience points were not a lot, but this forest area of the mountain valley was simply too close to the Mu clan. Every day, they only saw first-stage demon beast. They did not have much intelligence and did not even see a second-stage demon beast. I need to find a way to enter a more dangerous place. But in God-Living Mountain, I don't even know where the dangerous place is. Long Fei sighed in his heart. He was worried in his heart every day, anxious to level up, anxious to save Lu Luoxi. Looking at his own experience bar moving up and down, he felt like he was going crazy. There was really nothing that could be done. He had been carefully studying the map of God-Living Mountain these few days, but he still did not know what to do. Bam! Mu Yun punched forward, causing the sword pig to let out a howl, and then turned to escape. Long Fei's eyes tensed up. "You want to escape? Your father will not let you off with just a bit of experience points." He moved quickly to catch up, throwing out a punch, 8 bursts fist. Bam! The sword pig's body immediately exploded. Mu Yun was shocked. "Boss, why is your 8-burst fist so powerful?" "Of course, because I'm your boss. Of course I'm fierce," Long Fei replied. "Actually, it was because of the 8-burst fist. The 8-burst fist in the skill bar was already at the 2nd level. It's about time. Let's continue tomorrow." Long Fei looked at the sky. The sky was about to brighten. Mu Yun did not linger, and followed Long Fei towards the eastern district of Mu Clan, continuously waving his fists and changing his positions on the way. He wanted to learn 8-burst fist like Long Fei. Now he completely saw Long Fei in front of his idol, someone he worshipped. Early morning. Early morning. Long Fei arrived early to the Pill Academy. Every day, he was the first in the academy. He was the apprentice and had to assist in the cleanliness of the academy. After cleaning up the Pill courtyard, the disciples started to arrive one after another. Seeing Long Fei, someone shot him a polite smile. Some people were mocking him. Oh, the janitor disciple is indeed a janitor disciple. He was cleaned so cleanly that he is worthy of being called a janitor. I think he'll only be able to do menial chores for the rest of his life. He wants to become an official disciple of the Pill Academy. Dream on. You dare to hit my goddess? You're giving me a chance? Otherwise, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Long Fei was famous in the practicing courtyard. The entire East District could be said to have become famous in a single battle. It was not because of how powerful the cultivation technique he cultivated was, but because he had beaten Mu Yao, the Eastern goddess. If it wasn't for the fact that he was staying in the Pill Academy, people would come and challenge him every day. Especially those senior disciples of the practicing courtyard. They all wished that they could tear Long Fei into pieces. A goddess was a form of protection, not a form of bullying. Mu Fei, get your ass out here. You dare to bully junior sister Mu Yao. Today, I will make you suffer. Mu Fei, come out. Early in the morning, there was a wave of clamoring. Long Fei was too lazy to bother with him. With regards to a battle without any benefits, Long Fei was too lazy to bother. When he was in the Pill Academy, the disciples outside the academy had to obtain the approval of the elders before they could enter. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to enter. This also allowed Long Fei to be a bit more tranquil. Servant Junior brother, I'm calling you out again. Did you not hear me? He's pretending not to hear it. He must be scared. Needless to say, what level of cultivation is he at? He's his opponent. That day when he defeated Mu Yao, senior sister, he must have used some despicable method. I definitely do not believe that a person at the 5th stage of the Divine Spirit realm could defeat a 9th level Divine God expert. I don't believe it either. Many disciples began to discuss with each other. Just then, Mu Yuanin walked into the courtyard and said solemnly, "Don't you need to do morning lessons? You have the leisure to chat here?" Seeing Mu Yuanin, she immediately lowered her head and walked to her position. Mu Yuanin walked to Long Fei's side and said, "Don't mind these things." Long Fei said, "I know. How can a lion turn back after barking like a dog?" Mu Yuanin was slightly stunned. Looking at Long Fei, he felt that Long Fei was different more and more, and he asked, "Have you gotten used to it in the spirit grass room?" How many spirit grasses' attribute and characteristics do you remember? Long Fei said, "I will remember all of your teachings." Mu Yuanin said in shock, "Oh, I heard from the spirit grass room elder that he had told you over 100 different spirit grasses' characteristics and attributes in the past 2 days. The attribute characteristics of every spirit grass were very complicated. Just like a piece of text, it was not difficult to memorize one type of text every day. However, one had to memorize dozens of different types of text every day. Hundreds of different types of text was extremely difficult. To ordinary disciples, 100 stalks of spirit grass would require at least a month of time. But to Long Fei, he did not need to remember, because the system had everything. It was too simple. At this time, a disciple walked up and said, "You have only been here for 2 days, and you have already memorized over 100 types of spirit grass." Mu Yuanin smiled faintly and said, "Mu Ling, you are the best spirit grass master in our academy. The reason why you are able to concoct so many different kinds of spirit grass is all because you have memorized the attributes of the spirit grass." How many kinds of spirit grass can you remember now? Mu Ling, even the elders of the spirit grass room would not be able to remember more spirit grass than him. Not only that, he could also find the most suitable matching attributes, allowing alchemy masters to refine pellets with a high success rate, as well as a high rate of extreme quality pellets. I heard, in this year's South Area's assessment, He would be promoted to the South Area's Pill Academy. Here, he was qualified to be arrogant. Mu Ling looked pleased with herself and said faintly, "Not much, not much." Adding on the 37 new spirit grass attributes we met yesterday, we have roughly 1,000 different species. 1,000. Mu Yuanan revealed an astonished expression and said with extreme satisfaction, "Amazing, truly amazing. Even I can't remember that much right now." Mu Ling revealed an incredibly pleased smile and said, "How can this disciple compare with an elder? There are some people who are bragging about remembering the attributes of over 100 spirit grass after just a few days in the Pill Academy. Elder, I feel that this sort of disciple is too hypocritical and inflated. Actually, he doesn't know anything and only likes to pretend that he knows something. I'm looking down on this sort of person the most." It was very obvious that he was talking about Long Fei. Long Fei pretended not to hear it, and pretended not to hear anything. Mu Yao was also his goddess. Ever since Long Fei had entered the Pill Academy, he had always been against Long Fei. However, the target was still the target. This fellow truly had some skills, at least in terms of the knowledge of spirit grass. Even elders were inferior to him. Mu Yuanan smiled, looked at Long Fei, and said indifferently, "You can't say those words like that. Who knows? Maybe he really remembered them." Mu Ling immediately said, "Elder, I bet Mu Fei doesn't even remember 10 different spirit grass." At the beginning, no name had been mentioned. This time, he directly pointed at Long Fei's fake name. Moreover, she stared at Long Fei. How could he tolerate this? Of course not. When he could no longer endure it and reach the bottom line, Long Fei would no longer endure it any further. So before Mu Yuanan could say anything, Long Fei had already sent an order, "What do you want to bet?" Mu Yuanan was startled. Mu Ling directly asked, "What do you think we should bet on?" Long Fei replied, "Otherwise, if that's the case, whoever loses will have to call themselves senior brother. From today onwards, whatever you want them to do, they will do it." Mu Ling's eyes blazed with excitement as she immediately said, "I'll do as you say. Brat, I want you to kneel on the ground and learn to bark like a dog. Tell me, what do you want to bet?" Long Fei said, "I came to the Pill Academy for 2 days. You have been here for 4 years, right? Let's have a fair fight. Let's bet on who knows more spirit grass, including all their attributes." Mu Ling was stunned. Mu Yuanan was also stunned. "This, you still want to bet?" Mu Ling knows over 1,000 different spirit grass. Long Fei had only been here for a few days. A fair bet? This is unfair. It was a situation in which Long Fei was definitely going to lose. Mu Yuanan slightly said, "Mu Fei, this is a little unfair to you." Long Fei said, "It is indeed a bit unfair. How about this? I will give him 10 ways." As soon as he finished, Mu Ling immediately flew into a rage. "Brat, you're too arrogant." "I'm sorry, arrogance is my nature," Long Fei said lightly. His eyes and expression were filled with contempt for Mu Ling. This arrogant. Even Mu Yuanan could not stand watching this any longer. Mu Yuanan looked at Long Fei and said, "Mu Fei, do you know what you just said?" Long Fei replied, "I know. Give him 10 different ways. Just tell me if you dare to bet or not. If you don't dare, then don't waste my time by sweeping the floor." Long Fei took his broom and was about to leave. What was awesome? What was keeping a low profile? Long Fei was a low-key person, extremely luxurious. Mu Ling's nose was smoking as she viciously said, "Fine, let's bet. If I can't win against you today, I'll chop off all my hands." He was about to die from anger. However, Mu Ling was extremely courteous to him, even if he was an ordinary elder. How dare a mere disciple, who had just entered the Pill Academy, humiliate him like this? However, Mu Ling was extremely courteous to him, even if he was an ordinary elder. How dare a mere disciple, who had just entered the Pill Academy, humiliate him like this? He couldn't tolerate it all. Mu Yuanan anxiously said, "It's just a spar, don't bet on it. If you agree, then let's start the competition. If you don't agree, then forget it." Mu Yuanan was thinking about harmony. Moreover, He was worried that Long Fei would lose. After all, he had only been here for 2 days, and Mu Ling had already been here for a few years. Mu Ling said, "Elder, this is between him and me. If he wants to humiliate me, then I must defeat him. If I win, I only need him to kneel down and kowtow to apologize to me." Long Fei replied, "Haha." He had a disdainful look on his face. Mu Ling was truly infuriated. She had never been humiliated like this in her entire life. Mu Yuanin said in a heavy voice, "Mu Fei, he is your senior brother." Long Fei said, "It's because he is from the Mu clan that I am polite to him. If his surname was not Mu, I'm afraid that he would not be here now." The other meaning behind his words was that if Mu Ling wasn't someone from the Mu clan, then he was already dead. Mu Ling was about to go berserk when she heard that. "Elder, there's nothing more to say. The duel is about to begin." He didn't want to say anything at the moment. He just wanted to hurry up and win over Long Fei and see if Long Fei's arrogant strength could still be maintained. Since the situation was already like this, Mu Yuanin was also slightly unable to control himself. And then, Mu Yuanin said, "I invite Elder Mu Yuan from the Spirit Grass Room." Mu Yuan was already at the side. Upon hearing Mu Yuanin's voice, he immediately came out and said, "Elder, I'm here." Mu Yuanin asked, "Do you have any spirit grasses in the Spirit Grass Room?" Mu Yuan immediately said, "This morning we just found a batch of fresh spirit grass," but Mu Yuan couldn't help but look at Long Fei. In his heart, he was a little disdainful towards Long Fei as well. In the past 2 days, Long Fei had been teaching him the identification technique in the Spirit Grass Room, but he did not think much of it. He really hated students like this. If not for Mu Yuanin, he would have chased him out of the Spirit Grass Room. Mu Yuanin asked, "Just what?" Mu Yuan said, but initially, he wanted to say that this batch of fresh spirit grasses that he had not recognized yet, so he would definitely lose if he took it out. However, Mu Yuan did not say anything as he replied, "It's just that I'm worried that it will affect the usage of my alchemy in the future." Mu Yuanin said, "That's fine. Losing a few spirit grass is unavoidable. Let's compete with these fresh spirit grass. The two of you should prepare." Mu Yuan immediately nodded and said, "I will go and prepare. In addition, in order to prevent the two of you from speaking the same thing as each other, come and take care of 2 disciples. You two are responsible for repeating what they have said." Mu Yuanin continued, "This is for one person to repeat the words of another." 2 disciples walked up. They were alchemy disciples and did not know much about the characteristics of the spirit grass's attributes. Not long later, Mu Yuan then walked out with his spirit grass. Mu Yuanin casually took out a spirit grass with a flower and asked, "What is this spirit grass? What were his attributes? What kind of pill is suitable for forging?" "You can begin." He already knew everything about the spirit grass that Mu Yuanin had just picked up. With a look of contempt, he looked at Long Fei and said, "Mu Fei, you go first." Long Fei did not need to pass down orders to his disciples. He lifted his gaze and looked at the spirit grass in Mu Yuanin's hands. A series of crackling sounds rang out. The attributes of the spirit grass were completely revealed. The process took 10 seconds. Long Fei was waiting. He became confused all of a sudden, right? Damn, I really thought he was very strong. So he was pretending. How could a service disciple like him know anything about spirit grasses? The Mu Ling senior brother is the #1 spirit grass master in the Eastern District, and he's also an admirer of the Mu Yao senior sister. He must be trying to take back some face from Mu Yao today. Look at him in a daze. I'm afraid he knows nothing about this spirit grass. Definitely, he's just a service disciple. The surroundings were filled with whispers and discussions. None of them thought well of Long Fei. Most of the discussions were about Long Fei. Mu Ling faintly smiled and said, "Mu Fei, weren't you very arrogant just now? Say it, say it. Why didn't you say it again? This is only the first spirit grass, and it's already so slow. Just you want to compare yourself with the spirit grass? How can a service disciple like you compare with me? Just when everyone thought that Long Fei had lost." Ding. System prompt. Identification completed. Long Fei said unhurriedly, This spirit grass is called the jade magnolia grass. Its blooming is like jade. It has a 10% discount and will transform into the upper echelons. Third rank spirit grass. The attribute is metal. There are two types of alchemy. The first is when the flower blooms. It can be used to refine spirit convergence pills, 9 recovery pills, and the Heaven's Leap pill. There is another situation. If there is no blooming, it can be used to concoct spirit convergence pills. It was too simple. Long Fei only needed to read out the numbers that came out of the system. He didn't even need to think about it. As soon as he finished, many people looked at Long Fei in shock. Most of the people here did not know what Long Fei was saying. Just like listening to gobbledygook. Mu Yuanen's face was full of shock. He knew about this pill because the most he had refined was spirit convergence pill, and this jade magnolia grass was an essential ingredient. However, other than the spirit convergence pill, he had no idea what the heaven origin pill was. He looked at Mu Yuan. Mu Yuan quickly took out an identification book for the spirit grass and flipped through it. He nodded and said, "You're absolutely right." His face was filled with astonishment as he looked at Long Fei and thought in his heart, how did this kid know? He has never seen this spirit grass before, right? Mu Ling's forehead tightened as she said, "Not bad. You still have some knowledge. You actually know about the Yulon 9 twisting grass." And then Mu Ling repeated herself. Long Fei laughed. "Senior brother Mu Ling, you're repeating what I just said. Don't tell me you don't know." Mu Ling glared at him and shouted, "Do I need to repeat your words to you? Who do you think you are?" Mu Yuan replied, "It's done. Since you all don't need to send any messages to my disciples, then let's do this for each of you. Mu Ling will be the first to speak about the next one." Mu Yuanen casually took out a spirit grass. Mu Ling replied simply, "Tier 2 Red Lotus. Its attribute is..." Mu Yuan nodded. "Correct." Mu Yuanen took out another spirit grass, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Mu Fei, it's your turn." 10 seconds passed. Long Fei slowly read out the system's words. "Correct, correct, correct." After an entire 2 hours, they had fought with more than 200 spirit grass, neither of them making any mistakes, and both of them were completely right. All the disciples of the Pill Academy were flabbergasted. Even though this was not a martial battle, its brilliance was no less than any martial battle, and was even more exciting for alchemy masters. Long Fei secretly laughed as well, and said, "You have some skills, but you will lose for sure." The competition continued. Another 2 hours passed. None of the 400 or so spirit grass were wrong. The people around him were all alarmed. Moreover, the pill court also attracted a lot of attention. Many elders from the East region also entered the Pill Academy as they watched the unparalleled competition from a close distance. Mu Ling's eyes darkened. He started to suspect if Long Fei had come into contact with spirit grass before. He could remember so many spirit grass after entering the Pill Academy for 2 days. He had probably never seen so many before. Remember? Impossible. However, Long Fei described every single word in detail, even more so than what he described. Many of them were things that even he did not know. This fellow was not simple. Spirit grass. Are there any more spirit grasses? He had already used up all the spirit grass by Mu Yuan inside and was extremely excited. He was already very pleased that a talented spirit grass master like Mu Ling had appeared in the Eastern District's Pill Academy. But who would have thought that Mu Fei, who had just entered the academy for 2 days, would not lose at all? Moreover, it also allowed him to have a new understanding of many spirit grass. Brilliant. Satisfying. Mu Yuan was perspiring profusely. He perspired profusely from flipping through the books as he said, "Elder, the spirit grasses in the spirit grass room have all been defeated." No more spirit grass? Mu Yuan frowned. "What do we do? How about we call it a day?" They were both geniuses, without a doubt. Mu Yuan also didn't want the two of them to be hurt. Long Fei shrugged, "I don't care." Mu Ling, however, didn't give up. "No, we have to decide who is stronger today." He was still suppressing his anger. Moreover, with so many people watching, He couldn't lose to a mere service disciple. So much shame? Then again, he was only half familiar with 1,000 or so spirit grass. He couldn't win against Long Fei, the service disciple. Mu Yuanin said, "Without the spirit grass, there's no way to continue this." Mu Ling replied, "There are no spirit grass in the spirit grass room. I have one here." While they were talking, Mu Ling took out a spirit grass that had 3 green flowers on it. The spirit grass's surroundings flickered with a bit of a fluorescent light, which was the holy source that was emitted by the spirit grass. One could tell with one glance that the rank was not ordinary. Everyone looked at him, their eyes staring straight at him. Wow, this spirit grass is filled with spirit light. This spirit grass's grade is definitely not low. Mu Ling's senior brother is indeed powerful. There are even such spirit grass. Ha ha, that brat Mu Fei will definitely lose this time. Everyone looked at Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the spirit grass in Mu Ling's hands. Mu Ling revealed a pleased expression as she thought to herself, "The spirit grass we just fought against is at most a 4th stage spirit grass. I don't believe that you know about this spirit grass. I came across this spirit grass while I was in the middle of a floating arm." Mu Ling looked at Long Fei with a complacent smile. "Mu Fei, do you know?" 10 seconds passed. Long Fei said, "This spirit grass is called King Luluo. You said that you picked it on the cantilever. Do you want to deceive me or the elder? The attribute of this spirit grass is Yin, so it must grow in a place with extreme Yin energy. It also has another special characteristic, and that is the holy source that can absorb other spirit grass. The holy source of 1,000 spirit grass can make 1 flower grow. These 3 green flowers of yours consumed quite a few spirit grass. A green low king like you is a 6th-stage spirit grass, but it's a pity. Unfortunately, you don't understand. You only know how to let him absorb the holy source's aura, but don't know that it can only absorb the Yin attribute holy source. At most, I could just be a decoration. It's no use at all." As soon as he finished, everyone looked at Long Fei with incomparable shock. Mu Yuanin was extremely shocked in his heart. He had a little understanding of the Green Net King, but it was as if Long Fei had raised the Green Net King before. And then, everyone looked at Mu Ling. Mu Ling's expression turned ugly as she muttered, "Mu Fei, what do you know?" Long Fei laughed and said, "There are quite a few alchemy senior brother S and elders present. If you think what I said is not right, any of them can go and refine a pellet, and see if the pellet you refine can reach the level of this spirit grass." Mu Yuanin looked at Mu Ling and said indifferently, "Do you want to confirm it?" There was anger in his words, because, in order to raise this spirit grass, Mu Ling had used more than 3,000 of them. This was a huge waste of the Academy's resources. Mu Ling said, "Elder, this Green Low King is not like what he said." I. Zhang Xian was infuriated. Originally, he wanted to use this Green Net King to suppress Long Fei, but he didn't expect him to actually know everything and even reveal his secret. Right now, he wanted to kill Long Fei. And then, Mu Ling stared at Long Fei and said, "All right, let's take it that you're right. It's your turn to set the question." He still hadn't stopped. He had to defeat Long Fei. Long Fei said, "I don't have any spirit grass on me, and I even want 10 of them for you." Mu Ling's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. At this time, one of the elders who was watching the show walked out and said lightly, "I have a spirit grass here. Please inspect it. If anyone can identify it correctly, they will be rewarded." As soon as he finished, everyone looked over. Long Fei's pupils also tightened because the elder that came out had a purple jade tablet hanging from his waist. This identity, it was not simple at all. He hadn't heard of anyone with a purple jade identity token in the Eastern District. At first, Mu Yuanin did not notice, but when the old man walked out, he saw it. His expression changed, and he immediately bowed as he walked forward, with a face full of respect, and said, "Master, when did you arrive?" Mu Yuanin's master? The great elder of the West District's Pill Academy. Furthermore, he was one of the 3 great alchemy masters of the Mu clan who had refined countless medicinal pellets. making him an extremely important figure in the Mu clan. Mu Xingyun. Mu Xingyun smiled faintly and said, I just arrived. I didn't think that there would be two such genius spirit grass masters in your eastern district. It's rare, very rare. Mu Yuanan was elated. All the disciples felt full of pride. Mu Xingyun walked forward and glanced at Long Fei, then nodded his head in satisfaction. With a flip of his right hand, a vine like spirit grass grew out of his palm. This vine was absorbing Mu Xingyun's holy source. Was he using his own holy source to nurture a spirit grass? Crazy. Indeed. Mu Xingyun also had another nickname, Drug Madman. He often did some extremely crazy things. This was the first time Long Fei had seen someone using his own body to nurture a spirit grass, and he was secretly shocked in his heart. However, this kind of spirit grass was already beyond the level that the system could identify. A question mark was constantly appearing in the system. That is to say, the system is unable to identify it. This was also because Long Fei's level was the same as the god's chop. He could only be higher than 10 levels at most, and the system's identification techniques were also the same. He knew what kind of big shot Mu Xingyun was. As long as he performed well in front of him, it would be hard for him to not shine in the future. He stepped forward. Mu Ling's face was full of respect as she said, Elder, I'll go first. Mu Xingyun smiled faintly and said, Please. Afterwards, he did not forget and said, If any of you win, I can agree to any of your conditions, including go straight to the West region. Any condition? Any condition? This was too tempting. To ordinary disciples, the promotion from the Eastern District to the Western District was like stepping into the heavens. With Mu Xingyun's influence, doing all this was very simple. He held a pivotal position in the Mu clan. As soon as the words left his mouth, Mu Ling's eye shone with an even brighter light than before as she quickly walked forward to Mu Xingyun's side and said, Elder Xingyun, I need to use my spirit blood to sense it. Mu Xingyun was startled and revealed a look of surprise. Could it be that you are a blood sacrifice spirit grass master? Blood sacrifice spirit grass master? Many of the people present were stunned. He had never heard of this kind of spirit grass master before. Even Mu Yuanan had a face full of suspicion. He had never heard of this either. There were very few spirit grass masters, and many of them had eventually become alchemy masters. No one was willing to become an unknown spirit grass master for the rest of their lives. Spirit grasses were also divided into many different types. Mu Ling's blood sacrifice to the spirit grass was one of the most mysterious. It was to use one's own spirit blood to sacrifice to the spirit grass, and then learn the attributes and characteristics of the spirit grass. It was a way of offering. It was also the strongest type of spirit grass. Mu Ling smiled and replied, Yes, I'm a blood sacrifice spirit grass master. His answer was very calm, but there was a look of satisfaction on his face that could not be hidden. This was his strongest advantage. It was also the reason why he could remember the attributes of over 1,000 spirit grass. Mu Xingyun slightly smiled and said, I never thought that there would be such a blood sacrificial spirit grass master like you in the eastern region. With just this little bit of yours, you could become a disciple of the South Area's Pill Academy without needing to take any examinations. After obtaining Mu Xingyun's affirmation, Mu Ling was extremely pleased with herself. Moreover, the blood sacrifice test, this move had never failed before for him. Thus, he was determined to win this match. His request was for him to become Mu Xingyun's disciple. At that time, wouldn't he directly enter the West region? Mu Ling was incredibly excited. He had already seen himself becoming a disciple of the West region and had seen many people worshipping him, had become his admirer. As for Long Fei, he firmly stepped on it. He was excited at the thought. Mu Xingyun said indifferently, Let's begin. I want to meet the blood sacrifice spirit grasses. As for the vine that had grown out of his palm, it was actually, he didn't even know what it was. He only knew that there was a very powerful regenerative force within the vine. What kind of power was this? What was the name of this vine? He didn't know at all. Mu Ling looked at the vine before cupping her hands together. My apologies. His index finger moved. He definitely squeezed out the spirit blood, and his blood dripped onto the vine's tender leaves. And then, the spirit blood was slowly being absorbed. At this moment, Mu Ling closed her eyes and felt the circulation of her spirit blood within the vine. She used her spirit blood to communicate with the vine and obtain the answer she wanted. In the process, Long Fei also kept looking at the vine on Mu Xingyun's palm. The system cannot be displayed. This spirit grass's level was too high and had already exceeded the limits of what the system could know. However, the system did not show it, but Flower Fairy was excited. Real jump. Right now, she wanted to jump out from Long Fei's space ring S. Quick, quick, let me out, let me out. Long Fei was too involved. Did not notice that the Flower Fairy was calling him. Moreover, not even 3 seconds had passed after the vine had devoured Mu Ling's spirit blood. Buzz, buzz. Woo, woo, woo. Mu Ling rolled her eyes as her body started to tremble crazily. Spittle started to roll out from her mouth as if she was suffering from epilepsy. He fell to the ground, twitching madly. A blood sacrificial spirit grass master can do this? Damn, what is Senior Brother Mu Ling doing? Are you playing God? What is he doing? Damn, had you gone crazy? Around them, many people began to discuss. Mu Xingyun saw Mu Ling twitching and sighed his heart. Looks like even the blood sacrifice spirit grassmaster was unable to identify this vine. And then, with a flip of his hand, he retrieved the vine. At the same time, he grabbed Mu Ling with one hand and threw a tiny pill in her mouth. He pressed his palm against her chest and activated it, causing the pill to melt. Only then did Mu Ling's pale face slowly recover. It's just that, as if he had received a great shock, he looked at Mu Xingyun, his lips trembling as he said, Lo, elder, these vines, I. In that instant, he felt as if his entire body was being wrapped by vines and was about to be devoured. If it wasn't for the fact that Mu Xingyun took it quickly and fed a spirit-suppressing pill to recover his consciousness, he really would have died. Mu Xingyun smiled faintly and said, It's all right. After all, this vine is not of ordinary quality, and your current cultivation is still low, so it's reasonable that you don't know. Don't blame yourself too much with your talent. I believe that you'll work hard to enter the Western region in the future. This was a huge reward. Although Mu Ling did not identify the vine, she was still quite pleased with herself for receiving such praise. With just these alone, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the future. The South Area's Pill Academy would directly bring him up here. Although he did not soar to heaven in a single step, he could still step into South Area with ease. Mu Xingyun looked at Long Fei. Young lad, can you identify it? Long Fei shook his head and said, without waiting for him to finish speaking, Mu Ling said, Elder, he is a service disciple of our academy. To be able to remember so many spirit grasses attribute in a few days is already quite good. The spirit grass in your palm is definitely not something he can identify. When he spoke, he emphasized the words service disciple. He just wanted Mu Xingyun to know the identity of Long Fei's service disciple. How could such a person identify the vine? One must know that even he, a blood sacrificial spirit grass master, could not differentiate between the two. Long Fei? Definitely not. Mu Xingyun smiled faintly and said, It's all right. It was very exciting to see you appraising a spirit grass just now. What do you want? If I can help you. As soon as he finished, Mu Ling was stunned. Mu Xingyun only said that he would be able to enter the Western region in the future, but Long Fei directly said that she would help him. Wasn't the difference too great? Mu Ling felt unwell. His eyes were filled with hatred, staring straight at Long Fei, as though he wanted to kill him. Mu Ling asked, Mu Fei, did you hear what the elder said? If an elder can help you, then don't thank me. His words were full of ridicule. Long Fei was very unhappy. At this time, Flower Fairy shouted, My lord, I know what this vine is called. I know what its name is. Long Fei's eyes turned cold. Do you really know, or is it just a lie? Flower Fairy replied, I really do know. All right. Long Fei looked at Mu Xingyun and said, "Elder, do you not know the name of this vine?" Mu Xingyun was startled and said, "How did you notice?" Long Fei could tell that Mu Xingyun did not know what the vine was either. Long Fei could tell that Mu Xingyun did not know what the vine was either. He guessed, because after the Mu Ling blood sacrifice was confirmed, a hint of loneliness appeared in Mu Xingyun's eyes. Others might not notice, but Long Fei was good at observation. He noticed it, so he guessed it. Mu Ling immediately said, "Mu Fei, how dare you? Elder, you use your body to nurture a spirit grass. How could he not know what it is? Are you mocking the elders?" A shitty bowl was taken off. However, Long Fei didn't even pay attention to him and said, "I guessed." Mu Ling jumped up again and asked, "Elder, look at him." Using the thoughts of a service disciple to guess the identity of the elder, "Who do you think you are? You're too bold." He wished that Mu Xingyun could immediately kick him out of the East region. Mu Xingyun was the same as Long Fei. He ignored Mu Ling, who was making a ruckus at the side, and said with a slight smile, "You guessed right. Indeed, from the time I obtained it until now, I really have no idea what it's called, nor do I know what its attributes are." Finished. Mu Ling's face was burning, as though someone had just slapped her a few times. He did not think that even the elder himself did not know what a vine was. One had to know that Mu Xingyun was one of the top alchemy masters in the Mu clan. He doesn't even know what he's nurturing? Everyone on the spot was stunned. Long Fei said unhurriedly, "Elder, can you let me take a look?" Mu Yuanin lightly coughed and said, "Mu Fei, you have already seen this. This vine was cultivated by Master using his own body. Every time he summons it, it would consume a great deal of spirit blood's energy." Mu Xingyun said lightly, "It's fine." And then, with a flick of his right palm, a black mark appeared on his palm. A vine slowly rose from the black spot. It wasn't tall, only around 30 centimeters long. A few dark green leaves grew on it. It did not shine like the other high-ranked spirit grass. It was no different from an ordinary vine. Long Fei took a step forward and carefully observed. Actually, he couldn't tell what it was at all. He only walked forward so that Flower Fairy could see it even clearer. He carefully circled it once. Every leaf was good. It was like he was admiring a potted plant. At the same time, he was asking in his heart, "Flower Fairy, is it done? Are you done yet? Hey, speak up. Are you done? Fuck, aren't you messing with me? Do you believe that I'll slap you?" Although Long Fei looked calm on the surface, he was actually panicking in his heart, because after Mu Xingyun summoned out the vine, the Flower Fairy calmed down and did not make a single sound. Long Fei did not even know what she was doing. Long Fei had no choice but to stall for time. After he finished reading, his two fingers tugged at his cheeks and his brows knitted tightly, as if he was deep in thought. The expression on her face was very good. She had the acting skills of a film empress. However, even so, it couldn't drag on for long. Mu Xingyun was not in a hurry either. Looking at the Long Fei who had sunk into deep thought, he was not in a hurry to ask about the results. A minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes passed. Some people couldn't take it anymore. Mu Ling took the lead to ask, "Mu Fei, what are you doing? Was it that long to identify the spirit grass? Do you want everyone to play with you? Have you thought about the consequences? Yeah, what is it? Do you know or not? If you know, then hurry up and say it. What are you trying to do? Putting on a show?" More people couldn't wait any longer. Furthermore, Long Fei's look of contemplation was extremely unpleasant. Mu Yuanin also asked in a low voice, "Mu Fei, just tell us if you know. It's fine if you don't know." Looking at Mu Fei's situation, it was hard for him to say anything. Mu Xingyun also faintly smiled and said, "It doesn't matter if you can't differentiate them. You don't need to rack your brains to think about it." He had never held out hope to begin with. He only asked on a whim because he saw that the two of them were fighting very brilliantly. This was the Eastern District. How could the disciples of the Pill Academy know about this sort of vine? Even the old chief of the family did not know that it was the North District. Mu Xingyun laughed at himself in his heart. Seems like I have to find a master to appraise it. Sigh. He let out a soft sigh. He really wanted to know what this vine was. To an alchemy master, he really wanted to know. It was a pity. No one knew. Just as he was sighing, Long Fei raised his eyes and said, "I got it." Everyone trembled and looked at Long Fei. His surroundings became even more quiet as he was waiting for Long Fei to answer. At this moment, Long Fei's palm, as well as his back, were all covered in cold sweat as he thought to himself, "I nearly died because of you." Flower Fairy giggled, then said, "All right, don't be angry. I'll explain it to you later. What do you want me to say now?" Long Fei said, "Hurry up, I'm going to be played to death by you." The Flower Fairy said, "This vine is called Through the Heavens." As soon as he finished, Long Fei was secretly shocked. Tong Tian vine. Mu Xingyun seemed to not have heard clearly and asked, "What did you say?" Long Fei calmed down and said, "Elder, this thing is called Sky Splitting Vine." Mu Xingyun locked the center of his brows and thought for a moment. "I have never heard of this kind of spirit grass." Mu Ling immediately said, "Elder, the ancient medicine manuals do not have any spirit grass that can reach the sky. He is just making it up to fool you." Mu Xingyun's eyes stared wide open and said solemnly, "Can you shut up?" It was filled with rage. Mu Ling was so scared that her heart was trembling and her body was shaking. She couldn't say a single word. Mu Xingyun continued to ask, "Continue." Long Fei said, "It is called the clear sky vine, but it is not a spirit grass, but a special type of species that can grow immeasurably large and can reach up to 100,000 miles. Not a spirit grass?" Mu Xingyun was startled once again. Raised for all these years? In the end, spirit grass are not even counted? He felt slightly disappointed. However, to Mu Xingyun, who was a drug maniac, this was not a big deal. 100,000 miles? You mean it can grow to 100,000 miles? Mu Xingyun asked. Long Fei was also extremely doubtful. Growing for 100,000 kilometers? Isn't this too ridiculous? Are you sure it's a vine? Instead of the endless vine that was happily dissipating, Flower Fairy said, "She is a vine that ascends the heavens." Long Fei repeated. Mu Xingyun smiled faintly and said, "Sky-stopping vine. Is it used to ascend the sky?" It was a little funny. This was the ancient world's divine space, the peak plane of the ancient world. Climb the sky from here? Was he going to break through the ancient world and enter the outer realm? Long Fei said, "It's about the same. That's all I know." Actually, the Flower Fairy even told him, "These vines have a powerful regenerative ability." Long Fei did not say these words out loud. Long Fei did not say these words out loud. Regeneration of strength? This power was too terrifying. If he said it out in this kind of situation, even Mu Xingyun would get into unnecessary trouble. The news would definitely leak out. Therefore, Long Fei did not say. Then again, this vine was only a seedling. Mu Xingyun was very satisfied with Long Fei's identification and said with a faint smile, "Young man, what do you want? I can help you as much as I can." As soon as he finished, Mu Ling's eyes narrowed as she mustered up her courage. "Elder, there is no such thing as a sky cranes in this world. He is just a service disciple and only knows the basics. I'm sure he is lying to you. Don't believe his lies." He didn't believe that Long Fei could identify this vine. He could not even identify him as a blood sacrifice spirit grass master. Long Fei definitely could not have done so. Moreover, in that instant, his blood felt an unprecedented level of power, and it was absolutely not as simple as sky-piercing vine. Furthermore, if Long Fei won, then where would he put his face? Many people would laugh that he couldn't even compare to a mere service disciple. Then there was the bet just now. However, Mu Xingyun didn't even look at him, as she coldly said, "You talk a little too much." Mu Ling's eyes narrowed as her body trembled. Long Fei said, "Elder, it is my honor to be able to help you. As for my request, I do not have any other requests." Mu Xingyun laughed. "Brat, speak frankly. I, Mu Xingyun, have kept my promise. Do you want me to bring you to the West Region Academy?" He knew that Long Fei definitely had something that she needed of him. This was an opportunity. No one could be missed. Obviously, Long Fei was the same. He was just being hypocritical just now. How could he not kill him at this time? Long Fei did not dawdle and directly said, I need a large number of high-level holy source pills. High-grade holy source pill. Mu Xingyun was slightly stunned. The request that Long Fei had made was outside of his expectations. He glanced at Long Fei and said, You want to cultivate? But your talent doesn't seem to be suitable for cultivation. I feel that the direction you're heading towards is still the Pill Academy. Servant disciples were people with low aptitude. Since Long Fei was a service disciple, it meant that his body wasn't suitable for cultivation. Even if he were to cultivate, he wouldn't achieve much. Long Fei said, Everyone wants to become stronger, and so do I. I hope that Elder can fulfill this condition of mine. Desperately needed holy source pills, especially high-grade holy source pills. One of them could increase the value of the holy source by tens of thousands of points. He wanted to go out and gain experience. The holy sources were a key factor. Right now, he was completely relying on the system, and he could not comprehend the heaven and earth holy source and could only rely on pills to replenish his energy. Therefore, the holy source pill was extremely important to him. Mu Xingyan laughed and said, I've said it before, I promise. While they were talking, with a flip of his palm, an exquisite space ring appeared on his palm. Exquisite was even more powerful than high-grade items. Every single pill was of the highest quality. This kind of holy source pill could increase the value of holy source by 20,000 points. Long Fei was ecstatic. Thank you, Elder. He stepped forward to take the space ring. Mu Xingyun said indifferently, Just this one request? 500 absolute holy source pills is just too easy. To a great alchemy master like him, 500 pieces of absolute holy source pills was just too small of a thing. He thought that Long Fei would suggest for him to enter the western region, or something even more difficult. Long Fei stared at Mu Xingyun's identity badge and said, Clan Elder, can I borrow your identity badge for a month? Huh? Mu Xingyun was startled. Mu Yuanan also immediately said, Mu Fei, do not be unreasonable. His identity badge was a symbol of his identity in the Mu clan. How could he lend it to others so casually? This was a humiliation to Mu Xingyun. Mu Xingyun waved his hand at Mu Yuanan and said, This condition is pretty good. It's a little difficult. I want to know what you want my identity card for. Do you want to enter the West Region Pill Pavilion? Or do you want to enter another place? In the Mu clan, an identity token was his identity. There was a strict rule for what color one's identity token entered into. Long Fei said, Elder, you have misunderstood me. I just want your identity token to come in and out of the Mu clan as you please, and you know that I'm a spirit grass master. I want to come in contact with more spirit grass outside. And then, although I know that you're nurturing a sky-piercing vine, but what are its other attributes? I don't know yet, but I need to work even harder and break through. I hope that I can help Elder unravel the riddle as soon as possible and let you know the other uses of the clear sky vine as soon as possible. Oh, there are other uses for the sky-passing vine. Mu Xingyun stroked his beard, laughed lightly, and said, So you're saying that I lent you my identity token for myself? All right, I have to borrow it. While speaking, she took down the purple jade tablet and gave it to Long Fei. When Long Fei received the identity badge, he warned Long Fei, Little fellow, this is my only identity token. You must take good care of it. Don't lose it. Long Fei said, Elder, don't worry. Even if I lose my life, I won't lose it. Ha ha. Mu Xingyun laughed a few times and said, All right, in a month's time, I will wait for you to unlock the Tong Tian vine's other uses for me. Long Fei said, I will definitely not disappoint you. As he spoke, Long Fei kept his identity token into the space ring. With a purple badge, things would be much easier. In the northern region of Mu clan, it could be said that he could go wherever he wanted to go, and no one dared to stop him. Mu Yuanan was a little worried and said, Master, how can you be like him and play around? That is your identity badge, a symbol of status. If the elders from the Judgment Pavilion were to find out, then the consequences would be, If the higher-ups were to find out that he was lending his identity token, there would be trouble. Mu Xingyun laughed. This boy is a little interesting, it's fine. He wasn't worried. Moreover, he had a hunch that Long Fei knew about the other uses of the Tong Tian vine, but he didn't say it out loud now. What do you want to do in a month? Mu Xingyun was looking forward to it. The feeling Long Fei gave him was very different. It was as if the bottom couldn't be seen. Long Fei even knew about the Tong Tian vine that he wasn't aware of. He was beginning to be very interested in Long Fei. The match was over. Mu Xingyun left. The academy returned to normal with many disciples discussing this matter in the east. Long Fei was overjoyed in his heart. And then, he walked out of the Pill Institution. Mu Yuan stopped him and said, Mu Fei, where are you going? You haven't finished what you did today. While they were talking, Long Fei took out his purple identity plate and said, Elder, I have an urgent matter to attend to and would like to leave for a month. You do not have any objections, do you? See the identity token, as if it were a real person. Mu Yuan immediately bowed, not daring to stop him. Long Fei eagerly ran out to find Mu Yuan. With a wave of his hand, he said, Come, let's go cultivate together. Evil Cloud Valley. Evil Cloud Valley. This was a valley shrouded in clouds and mist. Mysterious, unknowable place. This was also the cultivation cave of the Undead Lord, and also the location of his power. Valley Master, are you here in seclusion, or? An old man asked carefully while bowing. Undead Lord said, Gather all the disciples of the Immortal Gate. The elder's eyes grew cold as he spoke. Valley Lord you are. Undead Lord was a little impatient. Whatever I say, whatever you do, it's fine. Don't ask me. The elder did not dare to ask any further. He immediately replied, As you command. Undead Lord said, Within 3 days, I want all the disciples of the Immortal Gate to gather. Yes, sir. The old man quickly left. Not long later, a strange sound rang out from the top of the valley. It was the sound of a flute. This sound did not travel through the air, but directly into the void. It was specially sent to the person with the immortality imprint on his body to listen. This was the unique sound transmission method of the Immortal Gate. Whoever hears this voice, no matter how far away, must rush back. In these past few days, even though Undead Lord could not eat well, and even if he slept soundly, he would still dream about Long Fei's pubes that was like the universe in the starry sky. To him, it was the divine treasure that Long Batian had left behind. As long as one could obtain it, they would be able to become the #1 powerhouse of Long Batian. They would be able to stand at the peak of this world and participate in the battle for the God of Boundary in the near future. Become the God of Boundary of the ancient world. So many years had passed. The Undead Lord had borrowed the reincarnation of his body time and time again. He was tired of this kind of reincarnation. He wanted to truly live. He wanted to stand at the peak of this world. As long as he could obtain the pubes in Long Fei's body, he had a chance. He was the one who established the Immortal Door. It did not belong to any ancient clan, and all these years, his Immortal Door had countless number of powerhouse. Destroying a God-living mountain. Destroying Mu Clan was not difficult at all. Heh. God-living mountain, old fart Mu, just you wait. Your God-living mountain will be turned into ashes soon. Undead Lord revealed an evil smile, his eyes flashing with light. At this moment, a disciple reported in. Undead Lord immediately asked, Have you found him? The disciple said, No, but what is certain is that Xianlai Mountain did not return to Xian's. The Undead Lord smiled and said, Seems like she was killed halfway. That woman with the sacred Yin body. The disciple said, I'm also investigating and haven't found anything yet. Keep investigating. That woman is very important. The Undead Lord was not concerned about the disappearance of the Xianlai Mountain. He just wanted to make sure that the fact that Long Fei had entered the divine space was not exposed. And Lu Luoxi could threaten Long Fei. Thus, Lu Luoxi was very important to him. God-living mountain, 11:59 p.m. God's chop. Boom. The stance of drawing the sword. The sword cleaved downwards. A third-stage demon beast was immediately sliced in half. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Bloodthirsty Beast for obtaining 30,000 experience. Holy Source points. 3,000. Striking value. 1 point. 1 sword kill. Under normal circumstances, Long Fei would not use the God's Chop. This was his life-saving skill. However, immediately after 12 o'clock, his God's Chop recovered its cooldown. There was no need to worry. Boss, what sword technique is this? The third-stage demon beast was defeated just like that. Oh my god. Mu Yun, who was by the side, was stunned. Looking at the bloodthirsty beast that was split into two, he was extremely shocked in his heart. Long Fei retracted his sword and said, "Don't say so much. Drink while it's hot." Air. Mu Yun muttered, "Boss, I drank a dozen or so of these demon beasts today, so I—" Long Fei said, "If you want to change your physique, then let me drink. Faster, while it's hot." Mu Yun's talent was low. He could only continue to absorb the demon beast and let the beast blood ignite in his body, slowly improving himself once again. This method was taught to him by Long Quang. It was a very ancient method to continuously absorb demon beast spirit blood to temper the spirit blood in his body and to let it constantly undergo changes. This is a very difficult way because the more powerful the demon beast, the more spirit blood would devour it like a fire burning in his stomach. It was extremely hard to bear. However, since he treated Mu Yun as his brother, then Long Fei would help him with all of his strength. Go all out to urge him. Mu Yun replied, "Okay." Walking forward, he plunged into it and started devouring it. When the beast blood entered his stomach, Mu Yun immediately flushed red to his ears. His entire body became hot, and smoke directly rose from the top of his head. Mu Yun gulped down a few mouthfuls of saliva, unable to hold it in any longer, and immediately vomited it out. However, soon after, he started devouring it. He could not disappoint Long Fei's good intentions. After that incident with the practicing courtyard, Mu Yun really wished to become strong. Walala, woo-woo. A low roar came from the dense forest not far away. Immediately, the surrounding atmosphere became violent. Long Fei's gaze tensed up as he stared at a certain direction. A pair of dark green eyes like green fire stared at him from within the dark forest. Their eyes were filled with ferocity. The aura emitted from its body was exceptionally strong. Flower Fairy? Long Fei asked. Flower Fairy immediately said, "I just asked. It's a 4th-tier demon beast, Scarlet Earth Demon. Its eyes are green. After making eye contact, it can lock onto the movement of a person and completely see through the opponent's movements." Long Fei said, "Did I meet his gaze just now?" Flower Fairy said, "Then, run." Long Fei smirked, "Run? Haha, there is no such thing as running away in my dictionary." And Long Fei looked at his personal stats. The rare blood beast that he had just killed had allowed his striking value to reach 100 points. Let's see what we can get out of this. And then, Long Fei moved. He quickly rushed forward and shouted, "Come out." Boom! 8 bursts fist. He threw a punch. A series of explosions occurred in the air. Explosions sounded nonstop. Just as he was about to hit, his fist missed. Moreover, Long Fei's back felt cold, and cold sweat oozed out. The crimson-eyed demon it was behind him without anyone noticing, but it was still staring at his back with its green-like eyes that were like fire. "Boss, be careful!" Mu Yun shouted, and quickly rushed forward. Long Fei said, "Go ahead and busy yourself. You don't have to worry about this." Chua! Leaves made a *swoosh* sound as she charged towards Long Fei with her scarlet demon eyes. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Ding! System notification. The God's Chop has finished cooling. Long Fei lifted the corner of his mouth. Can you see through everything? Let's see if you can see through my God's Chop. With a twist of his body, he grasped the hilt of his sword with both hands and furiously swung down. Explode for me. The time just passed 0. God's Chop had finished cooling. The time just passed 0. God's Chop had finished cooling. Without saying a word, Long Fei released a skill and slashed out. Shwa! A large number of holy source values disappeared. Powerful energy also gathered in the aura of the Dong Huang sword. Crash! The Scarlet Earth Demon eye was separated from its head and tail. When his HP fell, it became 0. You can't see through this, can you? Haha. Long Fei's mouth curved upwards, revealing an excited smile. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Scarlet Demon I for obtaining 45,000 experience, 5,000 holy source points, and 1 striking value point. Do you want to release the violent power? Yes, sir. Long Fei did not hesitate. This was the second time he had released Berserk energy. Ding! System notification. Release the Berserk energy. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining life +1. Life +1. This is... When a system beep landed, Long Fei was a little stupefied. Although he had lost the memories of several planes, he was sure that he was living in a real world, not an illusory one. Although he had the game system, he knew very well that his world was not the game world. It would bleed, it would hurt, it would die. It wasn't the same as in the game. If they died, they could resurrect in the water. Thus, he treasured his own life a lot at all times. But what did the system reward him with just now? Life +1? Was this a reward for his life? Did he have 2 lives now? I'll go. Long Fei was so excited that he couldn't speak. He immediately opened the system to check. Item, lives +1 grade. None attribute. None description. This is a special type of power. Once a player is activated, they will have a second life, which is resurrection. It really is an extra life. System, you are too great. I am in the real world, but your master system can be in the game world. You are God, and you are everything. Long Fei was extremely excited. He had an extra life now. This Berserk energy was simply too berserk. To be able to use this kind of thing after killing a 4th-rank demon beast, how terrible would it be if he could kill a boss? Ha! I have 2 lives. Ha! Long Fei laughed out loud. There probably wasn't an extra life for any other godly object in the world, right? Muyin looked at Long Fei in a daze and muttered, a 4th-stage demon beast has also been insta-killed. Boss is indeed the boss. But boss, you're too excited about killing a 4th-stage demon beast, aren't you? Long Fei kept the idea and kept the life +1 back into the system. Immediately, in the system, there was a box next to his name, life +1. 2 lives is a blessing. In the future, I don't need to worry about death anymore. Long Fei forced himself to calm down, and then said to Mu Yun, come over here quickly, absorb this 4th-stage demon beast spirit blood. Mu Yun revealed a bitter face and said, boss, can I wait a bit before drinking this beast blood? No way. Beast blood needs to take advantage of the heat. If it's cold, the energy in spirit blood's body will dissipate. Long Fei would not let Mu Yun have the slightest bit of laziness. Mu Yun did not dare to disobey. He could only dive into the Scarlet Demon Eye's corpse and crazily devour spirit blood. For a few days, Long Fei and Mu Yun were deep in the mountains, and they were constantly moving towards the center of the God-living mountain. The demon beast they met also became stronger and stronger. But one thing that was unfortunate was that the demon beast were not concentrated here. Few in groups. This also caused Long Fei's leveling to be a lot slower. In just a few days, he had already leveled up to the 7th stage of the God of Heaven realm. In just a few short days, he broke through to the 2nd level. To others, this could no longer be described as fast, but to Long Fei, this speed of leveling up was something he was not satisfied with. However, even if Long Fei was not satisfied, there was no other way. Even if the God-living mountain's demon beast were not packed densely, he had no other choice. Walala, spirit blood, who had forcefully drunk a mouthful of demon beast, had a crimson body, and even his pupils had become like those of a demon beast, carrying a cruel and ruthless aura with him. Long Fei couldn't help but ask in his heart, Long Quang, are you sure you'll be okay if this goes on? Are you sure he won't become a demon beast? Long Quang Dao, I just want him to become a demon beast. Of course, it's not his body, but his nature, and only by making him become a demon beast can I completely replace his former inherent skills. He's about done absorbing it now. I need a fairy beast immortal crystal now. Once the immortal crystals enter his body, he will be able to completely transform them. Long Fei's brows slightly tightened and said, Immortal crystals? What is this? Long Quangdao, the crystal core of the fairy beast. Long Fei asked, Are there any fairy beast in God Living Mountain? Long Quangdao, it's hard to say. Fairy beast are completely different from ordinary demon beast. The living conditions are also different, but every single fairy beast is incomparably strong, overturning the heavens and overturning the seas, and shattering the mountains is also an easy task. Fairy beast were a kind of special existence. He was different from demon beast, divine beast. Moreover, he was even rarer than divine beast. Fairy beast is intelligent. Its immortal crystals are even more precious than divine beast divine cores. Long Fei said, So strong? Then what would he do if he didn't have the fusion of the immortal crystals? Long Quangdao. Then he could have been turned into a beast and lost his humanity. F*CK. Why didn't you say so earlier? Aren't you telling me to harm him? Long Fei was very gloomy. Long Quangdao. He's just an ordinary person with low innate talent. If a normal person wishes to change their fate, they have to pay the price. Long Fei asked, Then how much time does he have left? Long Quangdao, about 20 days. Within 20 days, if he has absorbed enough immortal crystals, he will completely transform, and if he does not, he will probably transform into a beast. At that time, you do not need to worry. I will help you control him, but he will forever have human nature. 20 days. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. It could be cruel. However, for an ordinary person with low talent, this was perhaps his only chance. Boss, my power has increased again. Mu Yin walked to Long Fei's side. The corner of his mouth was full of beast blood. His eyes shone with a sharp light. The spirit chi on his body had completely changed. His arms bulged. The muscles on his body seemed to be on the verge of exploding, brimming with a strong, explosive power. During this period of time, he had become much stronger. He had become a completely different person. Now his body could easily absorb the beast blood as well, and he had to thank Long Fei for all of this. It was Long Fei who allowed him to become someone else, someone who was in the true sense of the word, not someone inferior in the eyes of those disciples. He wanted to prove to Mu Yao. He wanted to prove to everyone that his earth-level talent could also become very, very strong. Long Fei said, I saw it. However, there is something you must know. Your current body is as strong as a demon beast. If you fail to absorb the immortal crystals within 20 days, you will turn into a demon beast that has lost its humanity. Mu Yin was startled at first, but then said while looking at Long Fei, Boss, you're joking with me, right? Long Fei shook his head and said, I'm very serious. Mu Yin was startled. He stopped for half a minute and laughed innocently. Oh, I understand. Long Fei replied, Don't you want to know what an immortal crystal is? Mu Yin's reaction surprised him a little. With his personality, he would definitely ask about it. If he knew that it was difficult to get immortal crystals, he would definitely be depressed. Mu Yin laughed and said, I do, but there are some things that cannot be achieved just by thinking. I actually wanted Mu Yao to warm my bed before, but what about that? It's useless for her. Boss, it's you who made me stronger. I know it's really too difficult for a person with talent like mine to become strong. It's you who made me feel the taste of becoming strong. It's you who made me feel strong. No matter what the future holds, I will still thank you. In the end, Mu Yin didn't forget to add another sentence. I'm serious too. Indeed, this was the world of the powerhouse. It was the desire of humans to become stronger. But for some people, becoming stronger was simply too difficult. It was indescribably difficult. In the past, Mu Yin only had fantasies in his head and wanted Mu Yao to give him a proper look. But this was also an incomparably extravagant fantasy. He tried, but it was useless. It was as if Long Fei gave him a second life. In that short few days, his cultivation broke through consecutively. His strength also reached an unprecedented level. Make his life meaningful. However, no matter what happened in the future, he would always remember Long Fei's kindness. Long Fei patted Mu Yun's shoulders and said, I am relieved that you can think like this, but you are my brother. I will definitely not let my brother become a demon beast. Go, keep going deeper in. I don't believe that there are no fairy beasts inside. God Living Mountain was also a divine mountain in the divine space, in a place where the holy source of heaven and earth was extremely dense. There were bound to be many rare and unique beasts in this kind of place. There might be fairy beasts in the depths of the divine mountain. Of course, whether or not there was one was still unknown. In another place, Evil Cloud Valley. Master, according to your orders, we have already dispatched our advance team to the God Living Mountain to prevent the people of the Mu clan from moving. The old man bowed and said, Undead Lord sat on the Sky Sovereign's chair, lightly said, Very good. Who is the Mu clan? Ancient family. Ancient family who possessed the power of ancient space. The strongest point of Mu clan was not one's cultivation, but the power of spatial transfer. The God Living Mountain is incomparably huge, so huge that it is hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Mu clan was able to move the entire God Living Mountain to the other side with just a thought. Although the Mu clan-s were no longer here, and Mu Tianhe was no longer able to reach that level of strength, if those old bastards of the Mu clan-s were to work hard and be unable to transfer to the God Living Mountain-s, they would still be able to transfer to another space. Undead Lord had to defend against such a powerful force of space. He let the advance team enter the God Living Mountain first. Master, about Xian's? The old man was somewhat worried, but he did not continue. The Undead Lord raised his eyes and said indifferently, Do what you have to do. You don't have to worry about other things. The old man quickly replied, Understood. The corner of Undead Lord's mouth hooked up. Xian's? Emperor Xian? Humph. As long as I get that brat star elate to Dantian, what does a mere Xian's matter? Back then, Long Batian did not even put the outer space powerhouse in his eyes, so it might have been because of this star relate to Dantian. Kid, just you wait. Ha. Undead Lord secretly clenched his fists, thinking about Long Fei's pubes. He couldn't help but become excited. Deep in the ancient Ashura, the three of them stood before an unknown place in the abyss. One black, one white, one emperor. Emperor Xian. Black and white. Emperor Xian looked at the dark and chaotic area in front of him and said indifferently, This should be the place where Long Batian will be buried, right? Have we finally arrived? The envoy's eyes lit up. Black Messenger also revealed an evil smile and said, We have finally arrived. I never thought that this old thing would bury himself in such a damned place. I'm going in first. While they were talking, Black Messenger took a step forward. He was the outer space powerhouse. With a single step, a footprint appeared in the air and shattered the space beneath it. In an instant, he rushed into the darkness of the primal chaos. However, at this moment, in the dark and chaotic space, a ray of golden light suddenly burst out, forming a net and shooting towards Black Messenger. Bam! Black Messenger was sent flying like a kite with its string cut. Boom! He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale as he crawled up from the ground. The white emissary was also surprised and said, I have never seen this boundary before, but this ancient world has such a powerful boundary. Emperor Xian watched as the golden light web slowly faded. He raised the center of his brows and said, This should be the boundary formed from Long Batian's countless dragon scales, which is also known as the dragon's squamous boundary. Dragon's squamous boundary? What kind of boundary is this? Black Messenger felt very bad. Back then, Long Batian was ancient world's #1 powerhouse, and he had millions of dragon scales on his body. Rumor has it that every single one of the dragon scales on his body could compare to a peak stage, ancient almighty powerhouse. No wonder his grave wasn't devoured by the Ashura abyss despite being here for billions of years. So there's actually a dragon's squamous boundary protecting it. The white emissary said, "Don't say that it's useless. Just tell me if there's any way." Emperor Xian frowned. He shook his head and said, "I am not very confident." F***CK. Emperor Xian, don't forget what you promised, Master. If you can't get Long Baishan's body and Zhun Tian stones, you know the consequences. Black Messenger immediately started to threaten him. Emperor Xian remained calm as he said, "I said I don't have too much confidence, but I'm not saying that it definitely won't work." The Black Messenger said, "What method do you have to say it quickly? Master is still waiting for us to return." Emperor Xian pondered for a moment. After that, he walked forward step by step and muttered, Long Batian was the #1 powerhouse back then. It can be said that everything on his body has already reached the heavenly transformation stage, but there is a shackle in his heart. To be exact, it should be his Ming Men. This Ming Men allowed him to fail. "We have attracted the wrath of the Zhun Tian stones." Messenger Bai asked, "Long Baishan's Ming Men? What is it? Why don't we know?" The Emperor Xian chuckled. "This is a matter of the ancient world. Of course you outsiders wouldn't know. Stop talking nonsense and tell me what it is." Black Messenger was an impatient person. Emperor Xian raised his eyes, his lips curled up as he said, "His Ming Men is a woman." "His Ming Men is a woman. His Ming Men is a woman?" The black and white emissaries were stunned. They hadn't been in the ancient world for 1 or 2 days, and it could be said that they had been here since Long Baishan's era. But they had never heard of Long Batian having any kind of woman, so they were even less aware of the fact that women were his lifeline. That was why they were shocked. The white emissary said, "A woman? Why have I never heard of a woman in Long Batian? Furthermore, even Master does not know about this, right?" The black messenger asked, "Exactly what kind of woman can become Long Baishan's Ming Men?" At that time, he was the god of boundary and the overlord. At that time, he could be said to be extremely powerful and had already surpassed the strongest existence in the ancient world. He could even be considered a powerhouse in the outer realms. He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't understand it. How strong was Long Batian? They had seen it before, at its peak. Even their masters might not be able to completely suppress it. Long Batian was extremely terrifying. Emperor Xian said in a bland voice, "I don't know the specifics, but I know that it was precisely because of this woman that he failed this mission. And his failure in this mission also led to his death and was suppressed by the Zhun Tian stones." "Mission?" Black Messenger frowned, asking, "What kind of mission is this?" Long Batian blocked the invasion of the other realms and gathered the ancient world together. He is a god of boundary, an existence that only I am able to rule over in the ancient world. What other mission does he have? At that time, he had no plans to enter the outer regions and enter a more powerful world. And he failed? One must know that Long Baishan's entire life did not have any losses. Emperor Xian said, "This mission is also one that I want to know, or perhaps this is possibly Long Baishan's greatest secret." Emperor Xian had been researching Long Batian. Thus, only then would he know that Long Batian had failed because of a woman. It's hard to imagine. If Long Batian didn't fail, and if he didn't die, and if we stayed in the ancient world, we might never have been able to set foot in this place. Of course, we don't need to come here. Our goal is the Zhun Tian stones. Black Messenger said, "Don't talk about that. I just want to know what method you have to break through this dragon's squamous boundary." This was the key. No matter what happened to Long Batian, it was all in the past. What they wanted now was Long Baishan's physical body and the Zhun Tian stones that were crushing his body. As for what kind of mission he had failed, they didn't care about being abandoned by a woman. Envoy Bai looked at Emperor Xian. Emperor Xian stood in front of that ball of chaotic energy. Looking at it, it was blurry, and even with his current cultivation, he was unable to see what was inside. However, the corner of Emperor Xian's mouth lifted slightly and said, "Long Batian, oh Long Batian, you would never think of this, right?" While they were talking, Emperor Xian moved his right hand, and a hairpin appeared in his hand. The hairpin was very ordinary. It was not a holy artifact. There were not many patterns on it. It was just a small orchid. Very elegant, very ordinary. Emperor Xian activated his holy source, and his hairpin flew up. Go! The hairpin flew into the air and entered the aura of primal chaos. We're not obstructed by the dragon squamous boundary, yes, and also. In the few seconds after the hairpin had been sent into the primordial chaos, it had quickly disappeared. It was as if there was a powerful smoking machine, and in less than half a minute, all the chaos energy was gone. His field of vision also instantly widened. The black and white emissaries quickly flew over, and their eyes were filled with shock. Damn, what was that divine item you used just now? Even the dragon's squamous boundary was destroyed. Black Messenger was stunned. The Emperor Xian smiled slightly and said, "It is just an ordinary hairpin. The only difference is that this hairpin is the token of love that Long Batian gave that woman. There's a special kind of power inside it. This kind of power can break through any of Long Batian's defenses, including this boundary." The hairpin returned into Emperor Xian's hands and stopped for half a second before it turned into dust. Black Messenger said, "Is it really because of a woman? Damn, I didn't expect Long Batian to be so emotional." The white emissary looked into the distance and said, "The mountain ahead should be the legendary Zhou Mountain." The Emperor Xian nodded and said, "That's right. It only exists in the myths and myths of the world. It appeared out of thin air and magically transformed into tens of thousands of people." Emissary Bai smiled slightly and said, "There is another legend. Legend has it that was created on behalf of the heavens, on behalf of the Zhantian stones. It is made with a piece of the heavens. It possesses an unimaginably powerful strength." At this moment, the Emperor Xian trembled slightly. This was something he did not know. At the same time, he now knew why the black and white emissary wanted the Zhantian stones. When the white emissary saw the shocked expression on the Emperor Xian's face, he said, "Let's go. We should take a look at the burial site of Long Batian." As soon as they walked into the mountains, they received complete news, as if they had entered an illusion. Not long after their figures disappeared. Rumble! With a loud rumble, a purple bolt of lightning flashed in the sky, and the bolt of lightning disappeared. Like a meteor, a purple ray of light flew towards the depths of the formless mountain. Deep in the God-living mountain, 8 bursts fist. Long Fei moved his right fist and punched out. Bam! A third-stage demon beast's head split open, blood spurting out. The current strength of the 8-burst fist was over 100,000 kilograms, according to the standards of the divine space. 8 explosions sounded continuously from within the demon beast's body. However, the demon beast did not die. Long Fei looked at the bloody groove on its head and frowned. Is its defense this strong? This was the hinterland of the God-living mountain. The level of the demon beast here was about the same as the ones outside, but it was much stronger. Mu Yun shouted, "Take advantage of his illness to take his life." 8 bursts fist. Mu Yun moved both his fists and attacked at the same time. Boom! Boom! 2 muffled sounds could be heard as they struck the demon beast's body. In an instant, 16 sounds exploded from the demon beast's body. Bang, 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 just like firecrackers. The left and right fists moved at the same time. This was Mu Yun's own creation, the 16 explosive fists. And he wasn't weak at all. This kind of 2 fists required a lot more arm strength, so normal people would not be able to use it. Even Long Fei was the same. The reason Mu Yun could use it was because his physique was already different from normal. After being tempered by the demon beast spirit blood for a period of time, his body had become as strong as it was made of demon beast. His bones, meridians, and strength had evolved, allowing him to release 2 fists worth of 8 burst fist S in an instant. The body of a third-stage demon beast exploded, and the hole in its head had become empty. This time, Mu Yun directly walked forward and violently sucked in the hot beast blood. Right now, he did not need Long Fei's urging His body had already received the scorching hot energy. Long Fei said, 16 explosion fists, how powerful. These 16 explosive power levels were double each other's, and very powerful. However, right now, half a month had already passed, and there were still 10 days left. If he couldn't find the fairy beast, or fuse with immortal crystals, Mu Yun would beast transform. This was already the center of God Living Mountain. Long Fei had asked Flower Fairy to go ask incessantly these few days, but there was no information about the fairy beast at all. This was already the center of God Living Mountain. Long Fei had asked Flower Fairy to go ask incessantly these few days, but there was no information about the fairy beast at all. This meant that there were no fairy beast in a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers, or even larger. This gave Long Fei a headache. In the beginning, Long Quang didn't tell him that the side effect of devouring beast blood was beast transmogrification. Now that he knew, he couldn't find the fairy beast. After swallowing the beast blood, Muyin looked up at Long Fei and smiled faintly. Boss, I'm fine. Even if I can't find a fairy beast to absorb the immortal crystals, my entire life will be worth it. Haha. Huh. Muyin looked at his own 2 fists and said, right now, I have even mastered the 16 explosive fists, but I never thought that I would be this strong. Ha ha. If I can make her. Muyin did not finish his words. He was still thinking about Mu Yao. Of course, he also knew that it was his one-sided wish. Mu Yao probably didn't even know his name. Long Fei said, she will remember you. Beneath his sleeves, Long Fei secretly clenched his fists. No matter what, I have to find a way for my brother. Flower Fairy, continue asking for me. Flower Fairy said, I have been asking the entire time, but I do not think that the chances are high, and fairy beasts are not everywhere. Long Fei did not speak. Flower Fairy said, Master, you must have a plan. Long Fei replied, help me ask. You don't have to worry about other matters. If he couldn't find the fairy beast, it wasn't like there was no chance at all. Long Fei still had one chance, Berserk. The striking energy value violently produced a celestial crystal. However, this probability was extremely low, and the system wasn't set by him. It was just a hope. Suddenly, Flower Fairy suddenly said, someone is coming. Long Fei frowned, then looked at Mu Yun. Mu Yun also instantly leaped up and flew to a tree. The two of them had been in contact for half a month, and with just a glance, they could already tell what was going on. Shwa! A figure flew out. It directly landed beside the corpse of a third-stage demon beast. Raising the center of his brows, he looked behind a large tree, then looked towards Mu Yun's hiding spot and said indifferently, stop hiding, come out right now. He saw through it with one glance. Long Fei was startled. He had hidden his presence just now, but it was still seen through. That meant that the guy's cultivation was higher than his by more than 10 levels. Long Fei walked out and looked at the jade tablet on the man's waist. Blue, a disciple of the South area? That is a West region disciple. The God-living mountain was very big, but most of the people here were from the Mu clan. The blue identity card was either an elite disciple of the South area or a disciple of the West region. The man looked at Long Fei, saw the white jade tablet on the great Long Fei's waist, and was slightly shocked and said, why did a disciple from the Eastern region come here? That's not right. The disciples of the East region should have green identity tokens while yours is white identity tokens. Are you a service disciple? As he spoke, he was even more shocked. Long Fei also noticed the blue identity badge on the man's body and politely replied, Senior brother. The man said, my name is Mu Chongfeng. Call your other brother out. Long Fei looked at Mu Yun's seat. Mu Yun jumped down from the tree, politely said, Senior brother. Mu Chongfeng asked, is it just the two of you? Long Fei nodded. However, without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Mu Chongfeng continued, forget it. I'm too lazy to ask that much. I've chosen a mission for you guys. Mission? Long Fei was puzzled. Mu Chongfeng said, yes, I am issuing a mission. Are you willing to accept it? Rest assured, I will give you guys this task reward to make up for when I return to Mu Clan. Other than daily quests in Mu Clan, the only other missions that could be issued were missions above the Elder level, and all of them were purple ranked. Mu Changfeng didn't think that they would be old. How old was it that he could post a quest with a blue identity card? Mu Yin wanted to raise a question, but Long Fei said, "Please speak, senior brother." Mu Changfeng said, "I need your help to send a wounded person back. Quest level. Just treat it as in a class. I'll give you the A class reward when I return." Mu Yin shook his head at Long Fei. He knew that the disciple with the blue identity badge did not have the qualifications to issue the mission. It was obvious that Mu Changfeng wanted to lie to them. However, Long Fei actually wanted to know who Mu Changfeng wanted them to escort back to the sect. Moreover, judging from his words, they shouldn't be here alone. There should be a team here to gain experience. With their cultivation, Demon Beast would definitely not be able to harm them. Now that they were injured, it meant that they had met a strong Demon Beast. Thinking of the strong Demon Beast, Long Fei thought of the shining golden boss. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but be excited. Immediately, Long Fei said, "We are very willing to help senior brother." Mu Changfeng glanced at Long Fei and said, "Relax. I won't let you guys help out for no reason. Come with me now. Increase your speed to the fastest. Follow closely." While they were talking, with a heavy leap, Mu Changfeng directly jumped to the branch that was over 20 meters tall. With a tap of his feet, he flew another 100 meters. He was even deliberately controlling his speed. Otherwise, with his cultivation speed, he would have disappeared in the blink of an eye. Long Fei could not even see him clearly. Mu Yao said in a low voice, "Boss, he is only a disciple with a blue identity badge, so he doesn't have the qualifications to issue the mission. Why should we go and cause trouble for him? They just want to use us." Long Fei replied, "Nothing. I'll go take a look first." He felt Mu Changfeng and his group definitely met a strong demon beast. If it was a fairy beast, that would be perfect. Hurry up and follow. From afar, Mu Changfeng's urgent voice came out. Long Fei and Mu Yun chased after him with all their might. Although the two of them were only at the 8th stage of the God of Heaven realm, their speed was not slow at all while training in the God-living mountain. It could even be compared to some Divine Moon realm powerhouses. This also caused Mu Changfeng to be secretly shocked in his heart. An hour later, the three of them arrived at a waterfall. "Senior brother, did you only find him?" A disciple walked up. At the same time, there was also a blue identity token hanging on his waist. It was not only him. The other two disciples who were on guard were also wearing blue identity cards. They were all blue. There were two people lying on top of a huge rock by the waterfall. One of them was really helping them, but it didn't seem to be working very well. There was a lot of blood on the rock. These people also frowned, their expressions ugly. Moreover, their clothes were torn by the claws several times, and they suffered light injuries. Their breathing wasn't stable, and they were probably injured as well. Seeing Long Fei and Mu Yun walking out, one of the disciples revealed a look of contempt and said, "A disciple with a white jade token? Senior brother, what's the use of them being trash?" "Yeah, senior brother, why did you find two people like that?" They looked down on him. After all, their identities were different from others. Mu Changfeng said, "Even though their identities are white jade tokens, to be able to survive in the God-living mountains hinterland and to be able to enter here is enough to show that they are different from the masses. I felt it just now. There's no human within 5,000 kilometers. Only them." Actually, Mu Changfeng was also helpless. If he had a choice, he would definitely not choose Long Fei or Mu Yun. Their identities were actually not as simple as a blue identity badge, but Long Fei and Mu Yun's identity were actually white identity plates. His cultivation was only at God state, not even at the Divine Moon realm. He really couldn't understand how two people like him could barge into the center of God-living mountain. Was his luck that good? Even if he was lucky, two service disciples wouldn't be able to enter such a place. However, Mu Changfeng didn't think much of it. "Let's not talk about anything else for now. Lin Feng and Jiao Jiao must return as soon as possible. Otherwise, if they stay behind, they will just be waiting for death. Mu Changfeng reminded her. And then, the disciple who had helped them to cure stood up, his brows furrowed, and said sincerely, "Their injuries are too heavy. I can only help them maintain their heart veins. Whether or not they can survive will depend on when they can return home." The other disciples' faces froze. Continuing his heart meridian? What did this mean? This meant that he was only half alive, just like a candle in the wind, which could be extinguished at any moment. It would be fine if they left it outside, but in the depths of God-living mountain, they could not save him. Why is it so serious? That beast's damage is actually this high? Back then, sigh. Everyone's faces were tense. Mu Changfeng said, "Time waits for no one. The two of you come over." Long Fei and Mu Yun walked forward. Mu Changfeng said, "Help me send these two out. Send them to Mu Clan, and your task reward will be obtained immediately. However, there is one condition, which is that these two must survive to Mu Clan." Mu Yun said, "Senior brother, you should be able to use the spatial transfer technique." And youngest disciple landed beside Mu Changfeng. He stared at Mu Yun with contempt in his eyes and said, "Do you think that we would not think of what you have just thought of? They are heavily injured and in a coma. Humans have 3 souls and 7 souls. Spatial transfer required that the 3 souls and 7 souls were completely within the body. As the 2 severely injured souls were almost outside of their bodies, they couldn't withstand the energy of the spatial transfer at all." Long Fei said, "Senior brother, may I ask what demon beast injured them?" That disciple said, "Brat, as long as you are clear about your mission, don't ask anything that you shouldn't. If you ask too many questions, if you know too much, it will be bad for you. Do you understand?" The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up and said, "Senior brother, it's fine if you want me to send them back, but I can also guarantee that they will be able to return to Mu Clan alive. However, I also have a condition." A mere service disciple actually dared to speak like this. The anger in his heart burned even hotter as he said in a deep voice, "Brat, you better know your own identity and set your conditions for us. Do you want to die?" He was furious. Mu Yun frowned, his fists clenched under his sleeves, ready to strike at any time. And it was to make the first move. It was just that. The moment his inner force was activated, the other disciple glared at him. In an instant, pressure crushed down. Mu Yun was instantly unable to move. Their perception was just too fast. In front of them, any small movements would be instantly seen through, and they wouldn't be able to move at all. With just you, a disciple with a white token, the lowest level of existence in the Mu Clan, you dare to be rash in front of us?" The young disciple ruthlessly said. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "All right, let's go." Without another word, he turned and left. Mu Yun immediately followed along and whispered, "Boss, this mission is simply a gift, and it's an 8th-grade mission, just nice for us to get the qualifications to participate in the South Area's assessment." He didn't want to miss it. This task was too simple. Long Fei did not speak. As he took his 3rd step, Mu Changfeng said lightly, "Wait." Long Fei stopped. Mu Changfeng said, "I can tell you what we encountered." Long Fei turned around and said, "Please speak." "Senior brother, what did you tell him?" "Yet there's no need." "What are they?" "You actually dared to state conditions with us?" They were all very unhappy. Mu Changfeng said faintly, "We were attacked by a mysterious demon beast. Why do we call it a mysterious demon beast? Because we didn't even see what it looked like." After which, his forehead tightened. It was obvious that he was in pain, because he felt that this was a humiliation. Other than Mu Changfeng, the other people also looked to the side with troubled expressions. Long Fei secretly shivered in his heart. Mysterious demon beast. Their cultivations are at least at the peak of the Divine Moon realm, or even higher. If they were to work together, and we can't even see what this demon beast looks like, then how strong would this demon beast be? Is it a fairy beast? This was what Long Fei wanted to know. The reason they were in such an elite team was definitely not for the sake of training or to hunt demon beastess. They definitely had other, stronger motives. Fairy beast. Of course, This was only Long Fei's guess. All right, you found out, Mu Changfeng said. Long Fei said, I accept the mission. While they were talking, Long Fei and Mu Yun then walked forward and carried the two injured people on their backs. Kid, you two better return him back to Mu Clan safely. If my brother dies, or something happens, the two of you can forget about living. Did you hear that clearly? Mu Changfeng glared at her junior brother, then looked at Long Fei and said, Don't listen to his nonsense, but I hope that you all can return to the Mu Clan in the shortest time possible. Life is in the sky. Long Fei said, Since I have accepted your mission, I will definitely allow them to return to the Mu Clan alive. He did not say that he would return in the shortest time possible. He just said he was alive, because he had another purpose. Their lives were their lives, then his brother's life wasn't his life. There were still 10 days. If Mu Yun did not have the fusion of immortal crystals, he would also lose his mind. Have you finished? Long Fei asked as he moved. Flower Fairy said, Amen. I've already said it. They will tell me everything. Long Fei remained calm and collected, secretly glad that he was so lucky to have obtained the Flower Fairy back then. And then, Long Fei and Long Fei carried the injured person and left. Half an hour later, Mu Changfeng said faintly, They're walking in the direction of the Mu Clan. All right, we should also plan what to do next. The sensing idea that was left on Long Fei's body retracted. At the same time, Long Guangdao, Master, the sensation on your body has disappeared. Long Fei immediately stopped. Mu Yun was startled and said, Boss, what's wrong? Why aren't you leaving? We have to finish the mission as soon as possible. He did not understand. Long Fei's mouth curved into a smile and said, I have to go and do something big. A big matter? What's the big deal? Long Fei said, Kill the fairy beast. Mu Yun was confused by Long Fei. Kill the fairy beast? Boss, where's the fairy beast in this mountain? Long Fei did not explain any further and said, I'll leave the people here. You stay behind to protect them. The heart meridian of this man and woman was protected. They definitely wouldn't die in a short period of time. As long as he did not encounter any strong demon beast, Mu Yun could deal with them by himself. Thus, Long Fei had to return to take a look. He had asked the Flower Fairy to make some arrangements just now, so he was sure that the mysterious demon beast that Mu Changfeng was talking about was actually the fairy beast. Mu Yun said, Boss, actually if I transform into a beast, it doesn't matter if I lose my mind. This period of time is the happiest period of my life. It feels so good to feel that every day is getting stronger and stronger. I have to thank you for blaming me. He was worried that Long Fei would take a risk for him. Moreover, Mu Yun also knew that the group of people from before weren't simple. The 7 of them weren't his match. It was too dangerous for Long Fei to go alone. Long Fei said, Do you think that I did it for you and for myself, and you just stay here and guard it well? If I don't return within 3 days, don't worry about them and leave by yourself. It was impossible to leave the mountains with 2 heavily wounded men in a coma. After Long Fei finished speaking, he took out a spirit grass that he had collected on the way here. He squeezed out the spirit grass's juice and smeared it all over his body and also smeared some camouflage markings on his face. This kind of spirit grass's liquid could hide his aura to 0. Right now, even if Mu Changfeng came to sense him, unless she was extremely close, she would definitely not be able to sense his aura. It was all thanks to the Flower Fairy. When they reached the depths of the mountains, it was practically the realm of the Flower Fairy, and there was nothing she did not know. She felt like a forest fairy, concealing the aura on his body. Long Fei gently leaped forward and quickly returned to the place where the waterfall used to be. Senior brother, only the 5 of us are left now. Do we still need to go in? That's a mature fairy beast. Our cultivation is simply not enough. Moreover, there is a special kind of energy in that hole. This kind of energy can disrupt our thoughts. Lin Feng and Jiao Jiao were injured because of that strange energy. Since I've come, I feel that I must kill that beast. A few people started discussing. It was very obvious that Mu Changfeng did not say everything to Long Fei. The reason he used the mysterious demon beast in place of the fairy beast was actually also for Long Fei to not leak the information. Its skin could be used to make god armor for the city guards, and spirit blood could refine talismans and draw formations. When used to cultivate, the immortal crystals within the sea of consciousness of the fairy beast would be raised with even greater strength. It could save him at least 100 years of cultivation time. Even some almighty powerhouse wanted immortal crystals. Every single fairy beast could only be cultivated after at least 1,000,000 years, and no slaughter was allowed during this process. He couldn't let any distracting thoughts distract him. Becoming a fairy beast is even harder than becoming a human powerhouse. However, once successful in cultivating and becoming a fairy beast, one would become like a king among demons. Not only was his strength terrifying, he even possessed the power to command 10,000 beasts. Anything that humans want. Mu Changfeng looked at the waterfall, his brows sinking as he said, "Master has calculated it. These few days, its consciousness is the weakest, and its cultivation is also the weakest. If I pass this period of time, it's impossible to even get close to him. We have to try again." He knew in his heart, if not for the fact that the fairy beast had reached a certain breakthrough in their life and death situation, they would not even be able to approach the cave, much less close to it. If he did not make a move now, there would be no more chances in the future. Moreover, after this, the fairy beast would definitely change locations. One had to know that it might be the only fairy beast in the entire God-living mountain. I agree. We have to give it a try no matter what. We're already here. I definitely won't leave without obtaining the immortal crystals. Senior brother, Lin Feng and Jiao Jiao are not here. Can the power of the shocking array of the 5 of us kill him? The crowd frowned. With just their cultivation alone, they couldn't kill the fairy beast. The only thing they could rely on was the shocking array. They could only use the power of this formation to fight against and kill the fairy beast. This was the only way they could kill the fairy beast. Mu Changfeng said, "When the time comes, I will act as the array's eye. I will enter the array to kill him. All of you hold onto the array. Do not let him escape." Everyone's faces changed. Entering the formation to become the eye of the formation was equivalent to courting death. The chances of survival were extremely slim. Mu Changfeng looked at them and said, "Then it's decided, for Master's sake." "For Master! For Master!" everyone said in unison. And then Mu Changfeng said solemnly, "Set up the formation." With that, the 5 of them activated their spell and instantly landed in the direction of the 5 elements. The power from their bodies gushed out like a tidal wave. Boom, boom, rumble. Power surged out and interweaved together. It transformed into extremely complicated symbols that descended one after another. Mu Changfeng moved slightly and immediately flew up, hiding his body. The formation was complete. A disciple flew into the waterfall. There was a huge cave inside the waterfall. He stood at the entrance of the cave. As his aura surged, he said in a deep voice, "Bastard, come out and die." As soon as he finished, rumble, a series of explosions sounded out from deep within the mountain. A wave of heat that seemed to come from the depths of the earth gushed out, and the surging waterfall instantly evaporated into a wave of heat. A puny human has disturbed my cultivation time and time again. If I don't kill all of you today, I swear I won't be a beast. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sound was extremely intense. The entire mountain trembled. In the distance, Longface suddenly stopped and his eyes darkened. This voice, Ruh. Even if he isn't a fairy beast, he must be a big guy. He must be a boss. Longface's heart started to boil. When he thought of the boss, his blood boiled and he couldn't control himself. His speed was raised to the extreme as he flew over. Senior brother is here. That disciple's body was like a sword, instantly flying out of the waterfall. Behind him, a flame shot out. Walala! The waterfall, which was 100 meters wide, instantly evaporated as if it had been cut off. The heat was astonishing. At the same time, the disciple entered the formation and landed in his seat. Mu Changfeng raised his gaze, and the sword at his waist flew up into the sky, transforming into a bolt of lightning. Hack! Crash! It struck heavily against the cave entrance. Roar! A giant ape with golden fur on its head rushed out from the burning flames on its body. It swept its arm and directly knocked the sword flying. His body fell down heavily, directly falling into the shocking array. Rumble, 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 rumble. He sat down on the ground, and the heat wave instantly shot out like a hurricane. Walala, walala. Everything turned to powder. The boulder turned to powder. The towering tree turned into powder, and even the huge waterfall behind him was instantly vaporized. There wasn't even a single drop of water. This power was too terrifying. It could be said that not a single blade of grass grew within 1,000 meters. However, the moment the giant golden ape landed in the middle of the shocking array, the runes within the array started to hover above the ground, instantly forming a giant net. The giant net bound its body directly. In the blink of an eye, the entire body of the giant ape was covered with runes from the shocking array. When one rune after another seemed to be branded onto its body as they forcefully stuck themselves to its skin. These runes were filled with powerful energy. It was as if attacks were bombarding the giant ape's body. The giant ape's body sank. Buzz. His breath was like flames, and his two huge eyes were like lanterns as they glared furiously. It's the shocking array again. Only the shocking array released by you kids can trap me. Humph. You can't even call your master over. The golden-furred giant ape opened its mouth and spoke. It was just like a human. Any one of the fairy beasts had taken millions of years to cultivate. Their intelligence was not the least bit inferior to humans. Then again, they had experienced much more in their lives than humans. He did not panic at all when he saw the giant ape that landed in the shocking array. The 4 Mu clan disciples floated up high in the air, their energy pouring into the shocking array unceasingly. One of them shouted loudly, "Bastard, you think you can make our master help? Today, we will take your life." While they were talking, he shouted again, "The final decision." He gave the order. The 4's strength changed at the same time, turning into a powerful attack. The runes pasted on the giant ape's body transformed into giants one after another. The giants piled up, and in the blink of an eye, they had piled up the giant golden ape beneath them. Boom! Boom! The runes turned into giants, pressing down on the body of the giant golden ape one by one. In the blink of an eye, it had become a mountain. The mountain reached 10 kilometers. At this moment, the giant's body changed again. It quickly condensed into large rocks that formed mountains. The 10,000-meter-tall giant mountain turned into a real mountain. Second form of shocking array. The 4 of them frowned and shouted at the same time, "Mountain manipulation!" The giant formed a mountain and crushed the ground. Rumble, rumble. An incomparably heavy mountain pressed down on the body of the giant golden ape. If this weight was applied, any demon beast would be crushed into a lump of meat paste. Long Fei watched all of this from the shadows, his heart filled with shock. For example, the 5 Fingers Mountain, which is here to crush Sun's monkey, is 10,000 times more powerful than this. This is too terrifying. But Long Fei did not finish his words. This was because the mountain continued to descend, but the golden-furred giant ape remained unmoving, like a boulder. This power, terrifying. Seeing that, the 4 of them immediately frowned. "Senior brother, the mountain suppression technique doesn't seem to have any effect on him. That's impossible. Master said before that the best way to deal with the fairy beast is the shocking array, but our formation doesn't seem to be of any use to him." Change again. As soon as he finished, the strength of the 4 of them changed again, this time becoming even more powerful. Immortal execution technique. Kill. The humongous mountain changed again, transforming into a gigantic sword that fell from the sky. The sword body emitted billions of sword intent, crazily crushing down. Walala, walala. The sword intent smashed against the surrounding space, causing it to distort and distort. However, the giant golden ape remained motionless. The tip of the sword above its head had no effect on him at all. The clump of golden fur on its head moved with the wind. It didn't even manage to harm a single strand. Undefeatable diamond physique. No matter how powerful the attack was, it was useless against him. Long Fei was incomparably shocked in his heart. Damn, just what realm is this defense in? Dragon Kwong, you told me to go kill a fairy beast. How is this guy going to kill him? Aren't you joking with me? It was true that this fairy beast was a boss. His entire body was emitting a dazzling golden light. Obviously, not only was the giant golden ape a boss, it was also a super boss. However, none of the 4 great expert disciples using the shocking array had harmed a single hair on his head. If it was Long Fei, how? The god's chop was useless. The golden-furred giant ape was beyond the scope of killing. It had no use at all. 8 burst fist? Forget it. Even if he used 8 burst fist at the great perfection stage, it would still be useless. Long Fei couldn't think of a way to kill the golden-furred giant ape. Long Kwong Dao. The fairy beasts use 1,000,000 years to cultivate it. For the past 1,000,000 years, they have constantly broken through themselves, wanting to ascend to the transformation realm. All fairy beasts had their own hood door, so as long as they could find this hood door, it was possible for them to kill it in one hit. It's a matter of fact. One-hit kill. Long Fei's pupils tightened. If he could kill him in one hit, then he would have a small chance of doing so. Do you know where this fellow's hood door is? Long Kwong shook his head and replied, No, it has already reached the realm of undefeatable Vajra. I'm afraid even the ancient almighty powerhouse would find it hard to damage its physical strength. F***CK. Then what you said was the same as not saying it at all. Long Fei disdained the giant ape ruthlessly. Staring at it, he started to search the giant ape's body. However, there was really nothing that could be found within the hood door. The hood door was also known as the Gate of Life. As long as they found it, they would be able to easily destroy it. However, a monster like the fairy beast that had lived for millions of years, how could its hood door be discovered that easily? Long Fei was looking for the giant ape's hood door. Similarly, Mu Changfeng, who had turned into an eye of the formation, was also looking for her. He also knew that the shocking array could at most trap the giant ape and kill the hood door that could only find him. Now that the giant golden-furred ape had fallen into the shocking array, it was Mu Changfeng's best chance. However, he couldn't find it either. Moreover, he only had one chance. If he failed, he would either die or become a cripple. Senior brother, have you found it yet? How is Senior Brother Changfeng? Don't be anxious. Senior Brother Changfeng will definitely be able to find it. We can only trust him now. Change again. Give Senior Brother Changfeng some more time. While they were talking, the 4 of them almost used all of their strength. The consumption of the holy source was too fast. Shocking Array was a formation that used up a large amount of holy source. He had now upgraded to the 5th form. However, the golden-furred giant ape was completely indifferent to this, and even let out a mocking laugh. Is this all you people have? Who gave you the courage to kill me? I'm tired of living. I'm tired of living. I'm tired of living. As the 3 words fell, the golden-furred giant ape raised its eyes slightly. Buzz! A deep rumbling sound was heard. See you in a moment. The shocking array was cracking, and one by one, the runes inside the array turned into dust and disappeared, while the array's power quickly weakened. Moreover, at the same time, the faces of the 4 of them went pale. Break! With a deep roar, the giant golden ape shook its body violently. Rumble! His strength exploded. The 4 of them were sent flying at the same time. They were sent flying by a powerful force. Puff! Puff! Blood sprayed from the 4's mouths. When the 4 of them left the formation area, the shocking array was also quickly shattering, and the formation was about to collapse. They all knew that Mu Changfeng was the eye of the array and that he was still inside. If the array was broken, then Mu Changfeng was dead for sure. The formation cannot be broken. We can't let him break the formation. Faster! The four of them let out a loud shout, baring their bloody teeth as a sinister light appeared between their eyebrows. A drop of spirit blood flew out from between his brows. Long Quang slightly said, "Soul blood?" "Huh, soul blood. What a familiar word." Long Fei muttered in his heart, "What is a soul blood?" Long Quang Dao, a type of blood flowed in the soul. It is of a higher level than spirit blood, and any drop of the soul blood is equivalent to 100 years of cultivation. Long Fei said, "Then they must be using their own cultivation to resist. What's the use? It's obvious that the shocking array they released is of no use to this guy. It's useless to continue like this. Besides, this guy hasn't spoken the truth since the start. If he had tried to kill us, we would have died a long time ago." Long Fei saw through it instantly. The shocking array was a child's play to the giant golden-furred ape. It really couldn't even hurt a single hair. If the giant golden ape had used its full strength, the four of them would have died along with the disciple inside the formation. Long Quang thought for a while and said, "This might be his hood door?" Long Fei was a little puzzled and asked, "What do you mean?" Long Quang Dao, "This guy should be going through some kind of calamity at this time. We might not be able to cause a massacre. If not, his cultivation would be wasted." Long Fei said, "Are you saying that he cannot have killing intent?" Long Quang Dao, "It's just my guess." Long Fei said, "So what if he can't kill people? We can't kill it either. What kind of hood door is this?" With Kong Kim's indestructible body, no matter how much he killed, it would be useless. He didn't lose any HP. Long Quang became silent again. At this moment, Flower Fairy suddenly spoke. "Inside the cave." Long Fei was startled. "Inside the cave? What's in the cave?" Flower Fairy said, "I don't know, but I can feel that there's a power inside the cave that fluctuates between strong and weak. Could this be its a door?" Long Fei's eyes flashed with a bright light. What Long Quang said was unreliable, but what Flower Fairy said was still possible. Just now, everything around us had been turned into fine powder. The waterfall itself had stopped flowing, but the cave underneath the waterfall wasn't damaged in the slightest. There must be something strange within. Long Fei's mouth curved up slightly, and his body quietly moved towards the cave. We'll talk about shocking array. When the four of them summoned their soul blood, the strength of their shocking array instantly increased. Those disappearing runes appeared out of nowhere. His strength increased and once again bound the giant golden ape. The golden-furred giant ape's gaze swept across and said indifferently, "Soul blood." He didn't even hesitate to use his own cultivation as the wager. "Unfortunately, you little soul blood-s are too weak. Even if all of you were to bring out your soul blood-s, you would still not be able to harm a single hair on my head." The golden-furred giant ape was extremely cocky. He did not feel threatened by the power of these people. If it wasn't for the fact that he was undergoing his tribulation and couldn't kill them, these people would have died a long time ago. They wouldn't have been seriously injured by just the two of them. "Humph! Bastard, don't you dare be so arrogant. Your life is about to be taken." The power of the four regrouped together. At this moment, they could only pray that Mu Changfeng, who was in the eye of the formation, could quickly find the place where the hood door of the golden-furred giant ape was located. The giant golden ape sneered and said, "Just you two? Even if I don't have the qualifications to die, call your Mu clan over." Suddenly, a power from the shocking array exploded outwards. A light flashed in the four's eyes as they excitedly said, "Senior brother found his Mingmen. Ha ha! Bastard, your time of death has come. Ha!" If the power inside the array suddenly increased, then that meant that Mu Changfeng had found the hood door. If he found the hood door, he would be able to heavily injure the giant golden ape with a single strike. However, the golden-furred giant ape was not flustered at all and laughed. "Find my hood door? You guys are really dreaming." As he spoke, Mu Changfeng moved inside the shocking array. using all his strength to strike at the giant ape's hood door. The golden-furred giant ape did not stop Mu Changfeng and allowed him to attack it. The place he attacked was under the armpit. Mu Changfeng's strike landed on where he thought the hood door was, causing all his strength to explode. However, the giant golden-furred ape didn't move at all. Furthermore, its face was filled with a sneer as it looked at Mu Changfeng and said, "Transforming into an eye of the formation just to find my hood door, I have to say that you all have some brains, but is it useful? You can't even hurt a single hair on my head. How pitiful, how pathetic. Ha ha." After saying that, he didn't forget to laugh maniacally. This was a humiliation to the five of them. What a terrible humiliation. Mu Changfeng also frowned, his heart filled with suspicions. That's impossible. The fairy beast must have its own hood door. It's impossible for Kong Kim to be invincible. What went wrong? How did this happen? The giant ape didn't kill him after the first strike failed. This was an even greater insult to him. Mu Changfeng felt very bad in his heart. At this moment, suddenly, the golden-furred giant ape stared at a certain spot. Long Face sneaked into the cave. Roar! With a roar, the golden-furred giant ape instantly went into a rage. It thundered with fury. "Despicable and shameless humans! All of you must die! All of you must die!" Suddenly, Mu Changfeng and the other three were a little confused. He didn't know why the golden-furred giant ape suddenly went into a rage, but, however, Mu Changfeng thought that his sword strike just now had already struck the giant ape's door. Bam! Rumble! The giant golden ape rose from the ground and wanted to fly towards the cave. Mu Changfeng said heavily, "Don't let him escape." The five of them worked together to bring out the binding power of the shocking array. The giant golden-furred ape that was originally in midair was forcibly pulled down. The golden-furred giant ape was also thoroughly enraged. He no longer cared about transcending tribulation. As far as he was concerned, he definitely couldn't allow anyone to enter the cave. Absolutely not. Thus, the moment he landed on the ground, he suddenly stood up, and the long hair on his body stood up like needles. A ring of golden light flashed from the golden fur on top of his head. Break for me that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.